We'll discuss its history and its modifications for Charles III.
Has he got a bigger head than the Queen? Or a smaller one?
They make it taller, don't they?
For a king? They made, for Queen Elizabeth, they made
shrunk
it shorter.
it down, yeah. Shouldn't be able to keep it on, apparently.
And she always said it was incredibly difficult to wear. Doesn't look as though it's built for comfort, does it?
No.
Anyway, as ever, you can join in any of our discussions this morning by emailing us gbviews@gbnews.uk.
So England face their toughest test yet in the World Cup when they face Senegal tonight for a place, fingers crossed, in the quarter-finals.
It's the first meeting between the two nations, and the winner will meet the reigning champions France or Robert Lewandowski's Poland in the next round. England manager Gareth Southgate has high praise for tonight's opponents, but he says England are ready for the challenge.
I think Aliou has done a fantastic job. They were very unlucky not to qualify from the group in Russia, and you know, they've deservedly done it this time. So we know exactly the size of the task ahead of us. Well, it's a good position to be in. You want your players in confident mood, and our forward players are. Of course, you want to try to make the best possible decision, but in some respects, I'm not sure there's a right or a wrong.
Ada McGee is here. Is that what do you make of Gareth Southgate? Is he being quietly confident, or?
Yeah, I think he has to be. I mean, he's mindful of the level of the opponent as well. I mean, when I was a kid, the African and the Asian sides just didn't make any impact whatsoever at these tournaments. We look, 20 years further down the line, we've seen Senegal go quite deep into the tournament, in 2002, and they're steadily making progress. They've won the AFCON, they are the African Cup of Nations champions. You look through their squad, Edouard Mendy in goal for Chelsea, the centre-back Kalidou Koulibaly plays for Chelsea, Ismail Assar was at Watford last season in the Premier League, did very well. Idrissa Gueye plays for Everton, used to play for Aston Villa, played for PSG, so there's quality in there. There's also athleticism, there's also pace, and I think England need to try and play them at football rather than to try and outmuscle them. And I think England have got more than enough capability in their starting lineup and in their squad to cause Senegal some problems, but nonetheless it's going to be a hell of a test. And the marker was laid down yesterday as well. Holland are already through, as are Argentina. So big game tonight.
Have you seen, there's a story in one of the papers today about the fact that Gareth Southgate gets his inspiration from Morecambe and Wise.
Is that right? I didn't know that, actually.
He's an absolute huge fan of Morecambe and Wise, and he likes their timing.
Oh, OK.
Football is all about timing, just like comedy.
Well, I do think he's a good leader. I mean, you could quite ask questions about his tactics, but I mean, I imagine in the dressing room, when he's speaking to the big group of players and trying to hold their attention, he's probably quite good. He has to be quite charismatic in that regard. But I remember him saying, I think it was him who said, after Sven-Göran Eriksson, I think he's a guest later on today, after they played Brazil in 2002 in Japan, I think it was, and in the second half, the game kind of petered out, and then they said at half-time, I think it was Gareth Southgate, he said, we were expecting Winston Churchill and we got Ian Duncan-Smith. So he was quite pointed on his criticism. So I wonder what he's like in the dressing room. I suppose only the players really know. Yeah. But we should say as well, the Senegal manager's been laid low the last couple of days with, he's feeling a bit under the weather. It's an undisclosed illness. But according to the assistant manager, who you can hear from now, he said he's going to be OK to take his place this evening.
Yes, he's been sick for a couple of days now. And he let us take charge of training yesterday. Obviously with his instructions that we got across to the players, and hopefully tomorrow he will be able to come and be on the bench with the players, but we are sure that at 10 p.m. tomorrow he will be there with the team, that's for sure.
Do we know who's starting for England?
No, we don't know who's starting. I mean, I think it will probably be largely unchanged from the Wales game. Marcus Rashford has obviously talked himself into starting contention, but I do think Gareth Southgate will probably want to keep him on the bench and use him as some firepower in the second half or even in extra time if that's what's required. I do think as well the top sort of third of the team, I wouldn't be worried whoever played. They're all really decent players and all well capable of beating this side. I think Kyle Walker will probably start again. He got 57 minutes against Wales, and if they do go through to France, then we are a bit guilty of looking ahead to the quarter-final. We've got a job to do this evening, but I think Kyle Walker's speed will be absolutely imperative to dealing with Kylian Mbappe of France, if, of course, France beat Poland today at 3 o'clock, which I expect them to do. Poland were hopeless in their third group game, and they were quite lucky to get through, and I think it's France would win that one easily.
Well, as you were saying, we've got Sven-Göran Eriksson on
We have.
later. How do the sides compare? Because he had megastar names,
Yeah.
and yet we never seemed to do very well.
No, I think, hindsight's a wonderful thing. He believed in 4-4-2. It just didn't, that formation did not suit the players. And that's what the players have said since then. There are also problems back then, Anne, of cliques in the dressing room. So Gareth Southgate was on the periphery of that squad as a player, and he saw Alan Shearer had his own table. The United players sat on their own, the Arsenal players sat on their own. And they didn't kind of, it wasn't a cogent unit, which you need in tournament football. There were managers of those teams as well who were encouraging the players to keep themselves separate. Frank Lampard's spoken about it, Steven Gerrard's spoken about it, and that when you haven't got team unity at a tournament, we didn't know it at the time, but it's emerged some years later that it just wasn't a team in those days, and the formation wasn't right either. So lots of things.
Do you think it is much more collegiate now, then?
Well, I do, because I think Gareth Southgate identified that as a problem from day one. So when, for example, if you've got a club rivalry, you leave them at the door. You know, you might have kicked lumps out of each other the previous Saturday, but you have to, as soon as you go to St George's Park and report for training, you've got 2 or 3 international games, qualifiers, or even going off to a World Cup, you've got to leave that. You've got to park that. You can't take it into the dressing room, into the camp, because it can be destructive. We've seen it in other squads as well around the world and different teams. They've struggled with infighting, and so he was really keen on that, because as a peripheral player, he had a good view to be able to see what was going on, and I think that stuck with him for a long time, and it was probably his number one priority when he got the job.
It's interesting, though, because there's been... I mean, Southgate has taken some criticism, certainly over the second game with the United States. He took quite a lot of stick over that.
Yes.
Pulled it back, obviously, in the last
match. He
but
did.
Do you think people are now sort of getting that confidence back in him?
Yeah, they are, but then, you know, even now, not many of us are talking about the USA game, even though it was only the game before last. And we did say that, OK, no one's going to remember a draw against the USA. On the night, they got the job done against a very durable side that took Holland all the way to the end last night in the second round. But we should also mention with Pele entered end-of-life care.
Yeah.
And Harry Kane, who was in his press conference yesterday, offered some words of support and gave thanks for some very nice comments he made about him some years ago.
Yeah, no, it's very sad, isn't it? And the timing sort of couldn't be... Well, sort of worse, really.
No. Should we hear from Harry Kane? We've got him, I think.
Oh, have we?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, first and foremost, you know, we send our best wishes to him and obviously always his family as well. And, inspiration amongst our game, you know, incredible footballer, incredible person. And, yeah, to hear those words back then from him was really special for me. And I always feel like I'm someone who is always learning and will continue to learn for the rest of my career.
It is so. I'll tell you what strikes me, though, from that. You get it a lot from Harry Kane. He seems quite humble, really.
Oh, he is, yeah, without doubt. I mean, I actually went to his primary school some years ago in my previous job, and I spoke to his dinner lady, and she said she always remembers him because she dropped her engagement ring in the playground, and then he spent all break time looking for it, and eventually he turned it up. It turned up, and he gave it to her. Yeah, so he's always been a good lad. I think he was originally an Arsenal fan, I believe, and it happened for him quite late. He went on lots of different loans to different clubs, and he eventually found his feet. But I think the humility is what kept him focused. I really do, because often they say with youth team players they get a little bit too much too young. You didn't see him driving around in Bentley when he was 17, that's for sure.
Yeah. OK.
Isn't it?
Aidan,
it's sad about Pele's 82.
82, yeah. So he looks like he's entered end-of-life care, palliative care last night, although he did release a statement from Instagram saying he's got good people around him. So,
I always show off about him because I met him.
Did you?
I had to add him, George Best and Jimmy Greaves on the same sofa one.
Wow. That's a lot of talent.
Is it?
It's not bad going, is it? Legends, all of them.
Absolutely.
He's saying about
3 World Cups he won, Pele.
Sorry?
He won 3 World Cups.
Did he indeed?
Wow.
I think he's the only player to do it.
He's saying about with George Best.
Yeah?
I used to see him in the makeup room
Yeah.
and things, and because not knowing much about football, I just thought he was quite a nice
But he was a
fella.
lovely guy.
He was very nice, yeah.
As
Absolutely.
was Jimmy Greaves, too.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
indeed.
There you go, Aidan, thank you.
Catch you in a bit.
A little bit later on. It is 6:10, so let's bring you up to date with the rest of the day's stories.
Border Force officers and firefighters could be replaced by military personnel due to scheduled strike action over Christmas. It's part of contingency plans announced by the government. Around 2,000 members of the armed forces are now being trained alongside civil servants and volunteers to help limit disruption.
The Home Secretary says she told the head of the police watchdog to resign or face immediate suspension after he became the subject of a criminal investigation. Michael Lockwood had been Director General of the Independent Office for Police Conduct since 2018. He resigned on Friday, citing personal and domestic reasons. Suella Braverman says she took immediate action upon learning police are investigating an historic allegation.
And look at it, the St Edward's crown is going to be resized for the King ahead of this coronation next year. The ceremony is expected to be smaller and shorter than the late Queen's. Instead of 8,000 guests, there will be around 2,000. Despite this, though, it's expected there will still be the same core elements of the traditional service.
It's the only time they wear it, apparently.
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean,
coronation.
look at it. It's not very practical, is it, really? You don't... I mean, if crowns are weird things, aren't they?
Oh,
I mean,
wouldn't you like one, though? Wouldn't you like a crown?
Not so much a crown. I fancy a tiara.
Ah.
Nice, yeah, with lots of jewels in it. But when you look carefully at the picture, of course, they moved the crown to wherever it is now being resized. And then they announced they'd moved it. They weren't going to give anyone prior warning that it was in a taxi going somewhere or whatever. But it does look very, very big and unwieldy and, frankly, very medieval. But I suppose there's something beautiful about that.
Yes. I mean, it's 400 years old or something, isn't it?
It was first worn by Charles II, would you believe, in something like 1660-something.
So that's history for you. Christmas Day. Now, we've got a bit of a debate going on here.
Heck of a debate, actually.
Because Anne Diamond and Pearl Fernandez, who works in the back room...
Scrubbing the loos. No, she's not.
No. But anyway, Christmas Day, the TV goes on.
Yes.
And stays on.
Now, we do usually, in my family, we usually go to church first. Yeah. Because my boys have always sung in choirs and everything, so it's a sort of tradition. But the minute we come back in, the telly goes on.
Ooh. Now, you see, in our household, the TV never goes on, apart from the Queen's speech.
It's moving wallpaper. It's not that we watch it religiously from that moment onwards, but there's always something nice on that's very, very familiar, you know, like The Great Escape or, I don't know, a Bond movie or something like that.
The Railway Children.
Always the Railway Children, yeah. And Channel 4 always has The Snowman, don't they, and things like that. They are absolute staples of Christmas Day and they have to be there.
No.
So telly is important on Christmas Day.
Don't do it. It's all about family conversation, playing a few games.
No, we still do that, but with the
doesn't go
television on.
No. So, see, that's the big thing.
So that got a big debate going.
I can't understand it. It just doesn't compute in my head why you'd have it on.
No, to me, the telly is part of the family, almost.
Oh.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's just there and it's always buzzing away and occasionally it's got something interesting and all the rest of it. I think it's really important, don't you?
So, well, let us know. GBViews at gbnews.uk. I say, I'm not a fan, but maybe you are.
Yeah, and there are lots of different ways that different families spend their Christmas days. When I visited my family in Canada, and I think they do this a lot in America as well, Christmas lunch is spent opening presents and comparing them or whatever, and then the families lay out the Christmas presents under the tree, rather like a Harrods sale, and they show off their presents, and then visitors come round and look at and admire your presents. And then you do the same thing. There's a little circuit of people go around visiting each other, saying, "Ooh, what a lovely present you've had. Who got you that?" sort of thing.
That sounds weird.
I know. I found that weird when I went there, but apparently lots of people, anyway, in North America do it. I don't know whether you do. It's a weird thing for me.
It's a weird thing. And also people who sort of open presents the day before or don't open them till the evening.
Or go to a midnight mass and then open their presents when they get home at sort of 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't think I'd do that.
No.
I'm desperate for bed by then. But
no, it's just all first thing in the morning. Breakfast,
bacon
then
sarnies
presents.
in the morning.
Oh, beyond
always bacon sarnies in the morning.
Oh.
Yeah. Bacon rolls, you know.
It's toast with, I mean, not that
and
I
then
have it,
that
but rum
keeps you
butter.
going through the rest of it. Rum butter.
Yeah. So there you go.
Very special.
Well, anyway, let us know what your Christmas sort of routines are. Because we might need to modify ours. Who knows? Now, as the ballot opens for firefighters and control staff to vote on a 5% pay increase, and waste collectors Biffa start a week-long walkout, it's being reported the government are keen to introduce emergency measures in a last-ditch effort to save us all from what could be a winter of strikes.
It really does turn the time back, doesn't it, to something like the 70s. Anyway, the legislation, which is apparently being eyed up by Rishi Sunak, would mean a minimum level of service on strike days for key services, for instance, like rail.
Well, let's talk to editor of CapEx, John Ashmore, who's here. Good to see you this morning. I mean, obviously, the unions are furious about this because it undermines what they're trying to do. But what exactly does Rishi have in mind?
Well, as you said, there's a sort of rushed job to get some legislation through. There's also a kind of what's been dubbed a winter of discontent unit, which I'm not sure is the best way of phrasing something if you're in government. There's enough 70s throwbacks and analogies and so on as it is without actually badging it that. I suspect they didn't come up with that themselves, but, you know. And then this seems to happen every time we have a big strike is someone mentions getting the army in. We've seen it before. I think it was a firefighters' strike some time ago, and we saw soldiers with
bin men strike.
Like my thoughts on it. I mean, I saw it was 2,000 soldiers or something. I mean, it's not going to touch the sides in terms of the scale of the strikes that we're talking about. I mean, if you add all the different industrial action that's coming up over the next month together, you're talking about sort of hundreds of thousands of workers in loads of different parts of the economy as well. So often we talk about strikes as if it's like all public sector workers or something. It's all, say, nurses, for example, is by far the largest group. But it's all sorts of different things. Like you said, BIF is a private company. There's lots of contracts that are contracted out. So perhaps soldiers or army members or, strike-breaking agency workers can cover some of these roles, but you're not going to get a soldier to come in and drive a train. You know?
No.
So I think that it might be, there will be an element of contingency, but the idea that it's going to stave off the majority of the disruption, I think, is kind of illusory. I'm particularly worried. I mean, there's so many things to be worried about. You look at the list. I mean, 999 call handlers, nurses, even in A&E and cancer patients and things like this. The Mail, I think, are doing 4 or 5 strike days in the run-up to Christmas. I mean, it's to say it's not a good look. It's a bit of an understatement, I think.
I wonder how much of it is tough talk as well, just trying to say to the unions, there's no point in striking because we'll get round it by bringing the army in.
Yeah, I think there's always an element of kind of PR to this kind of thing and talking up. But I think there's it could be a bit of a fool's errand if it ends up that they go on strike anyway and everything's disrupted and you've talked tough and nothing's come of it. So I think that there's an element of risk there. But also, I mean, they're doing what they can, which is quite limited. If basically all the big unions decide at the same time to coordinate, it's not like in the 20s when we had a general strike, when the TUC could basically kind of click its fingers and everyone could go on strike. And it was 1.5 million people went on strike and it was 9 days long. So it's not really comparable to that. But there's definitely a sense that they're coordinating. You know, you've seen union leaders on each other's picket lines.
But if everything grinds to an absolute halt, this is the gamble, isn't it? If everything grinds to an absolute halt in almost a general strike sort of way, the unions do it hoping that the people will then blame the government. Now, the people may not. They may just blame the unions.
I think there are plenty of people who probably already kind of a bit sick of it, or who might have sympathy with the general idea but will think, well, you know, none of us are getting these kind of large pay rises. I mean, like all these things, it depends who you ask, and it depends which strike you're talking about, because there's so many different ones. I think people might be more sympathetic to some sectors than others. But like you say, I mean, the fact is that money is really, really tight. So it might be that in some of these industries, it means more redundancies. And then the members are going to go to their leadership and think, well, why did we do this? Like, ultimately, it would be a kind of Pyrrhic victory for them.
Well, I was just looking at it, because my next question to you is, how did the general strike end? I can't remember, I don't know. But, I mean, just the first line here says it ended in defeat and division amongst the people striking as much as anything else. Interesting. And apparently, by the end of it, people didn't just blame the government, they blamed the strikers.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested. I think it's not, I mean, like I say, it's not on the same scale. If you look at a graph of strike days in the UK over history, there's this enormous bump in the 20s. Compared to that now, it's a tiny little percentage over a year in terms of days lost to strikes. That may go up for this year, but in terms of our general kind of union relations, we live in a completely different world. Not just to the 70s, but to the kind of high point of those industrial relations. Yeah.
OK. John, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.
Fascinating when you look back in history, though, but clearly, I mean, it does feel almost like a general strike at the moment.
It's got that sense
by default,
about
it's sort of happening. Who would you blame most?
Yes, don't know, it's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Anyway, let us know, gbviews at gbnews.uk. Much more to come, including the rising crime of domestic violence and its link, actually, to football. But looking ahead to today's weather in the UK is going to be fairly grey for many, chilly in a brisk easterly breeze. These are the details then.
Areas in the far southwest of England may see the odd brighter spell, but the cloud will make it a grey day for most. Showers will also fringe southern coasts of Cornwall.
Like much of the UK, southeast England will experience a keen breeze today. It's going to make it feel closer to about 2 degrees when you go outside. A little bit of light rain is possible as well for southern Wales, and this may include a small amount of sleet over the mountains.
Then central areas of England will tend to stay drier, but there'll still be a large amount of cloud around, making it a rather dull second half of the weekend for many.
It's eastern coasts that are going to see the most frequent showers. The occasional one may be heavy, actually. They'll feed inland on the brisk breeze, so don't go out without an umbrella.
Hold on to it fast. The showers and cloud will also push into eastern Scotland. However, northwest Scotland will likely see the brightest skies across the UK, thanks to the development of some sunny intervals.
Western counties of Northern Ireland are also in with a chance of seeing some sunny spells today, but eastern coast affected by scattered showers from the Irish Sea.
And we'll retain a very similar setup throughout this afternoon and evening, with further showers in the east, and that's how your weather is looking today.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons? I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 6:24. Good morning to you, watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Now, for some people, the England squad's World Cup journey may have much higher stakes than a trophy.
Yeah, figures from the National Office for Domestic Violence show that when the Three Lions lose a match, incidents of abuse increase by more than 30%. Our North West of England reporter, Sophie Reaper, has the story.
The beautiful game, marred by an ugly reality. Earlier this week, over 18 million people tuned in to watch an intense World Cup match between England and Wales. But for some people, the result of that game could have meant a great deal more, perhaps even the difference between life and death. Figures show that when England lose, incidents of domestic violence increase by 38%. Using the World Cup as a platform to start conversations about domestic abuse, Tameside Council in Greater Manchester is working to tackle this issue.
For me, when I was a victim, it was one voice, the voice of a friend, that when I was in a position where I knew it was time to go, that voice resonated and carried on playing throughout my mind. So I suppose really in Tameside what I want is to have lots of voices saying, you know, you're safe, you'll be supported. When your time is right for you to leave that relationship, hear my voice, we will support you.
As part of the National White Ribbon campaign, Tameside Council is working with its local football clubs to put an end to gender-based domestic violence.
I think it's really important that men see men talking about domestic abuse in terms of fighting against the gender inequalities when we look at domestic violence. Having men having a strong voice to say that this isn't acceptable, and I think having strong men, strong male figures in sport kind of step forward and be the champions for that is really encouraging.
As the council works to make a difference, Curzon Ashton is just one of the clubs to step up and get involved.
Football clubs generally, they're a hub really for, you know, local communities. So I think the work that our club's been doing through the White Ribbon campaign is fantastic, and it just shows, you know, and reassures people within local communities that there is support out there, and there are people and places that they can go, where they can speak to, places that are safe, where they'll be made to feel welcome.
From local teams all the way up to England's Lions, the aim of the campaign is to have voices at every level in football taking a stand against domestic abuse.
It's a national sport, and you know, there's a hell of a lot of role models out there in both, you know, the men's and the women's game. So to see people speaking out about it can only be a positive thing. But also, you know, the people who are, you know, guilty of obviously committing such terrible acts, and you know, they need to be held to account.
Now, as England continue on their World Cup journey, for some, the terrifying reality is if football doesn't come home, something far more sinister might. Sophie Reaper, GB News.
I just think that's appalling.
Stunning, isn't it?
I mean, it's a game at the end of the day. It is a game.
Yeah, but it gets people all riled up, doesn't he? Possibly drinking too much and everything.
And they vent that frustration on their loved ones. It's terrible, actually. Terrible.
It's terrible,
disgrace.
but it's understandable. How you cope with it, I don't know. How do you stop? Like I say, it gets people very, very riled up. And a disappointing match, even more so. That's how important football is, I think, in a lot of communities. But how you stop somebody going home and then taking it out, as you say, on a loved one?
Don't know. Don't know. Shocking stuff, that. Loads of you getting in touch about Christmas this morning. Sam, I do not understand you, Sam. She says, I would, or he says, I'm not sure which, actually, I would celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve like the Europeans. No telly, well, that I understand. And spend Christmas Day in recovery mode, on the couch, medicinal mimosa, mince pie and leftovers, with the telly on. Oh, Christmas Day is the day to mark it, not the day to recover. Surely.
Yeah, it just shows how differently people do treat their Christmas rituals, don't they? Jane says, I totally agree with you, Anne. We put the telly on and love to have it on in the background. It's all part of Christmas. We don't all sit around it, but it is like background music.
John says the only thing I miss is Only Fools and Horses.
Well, it'll be on, won't it?
Oh, I should think so.
I tell you what's not going to be on, though, and we're going to be discussing it quite soon, is that the BBC are not doing a Top of the Pops Christmas special.
I didn't know they did.
No, well, you wouldn't because you haven't got your telly on.
The telly on. Because Top of the Pops was axed years ago now.
Yes.
I didn't know they still brought it back at Christmas.
No, I must say, that's one I wouldn't have on particularly, but no, it's making all the headlines in the newspapers, so it must be true.
Yeah.
We'll find out more from Stephanie Tecci, actually. But, I mean, for instance, would you miss Top of the Pops Christmas special if it wasn't on? But that's what's lovely about Christmas Day telly as well, is that there are Christmas specials.
Oh, yippee.
You know, like your Vicar of Dibley Christmas special or something. That's worth watching.
Something better to do on Christmas Day than have that on.
No, it's just nice because it's there. It doesn't stop conversation. In a way, it just sort of keeps Keeps the sound bubbling away. I like it like that.
Anyway.
How do you spend your Christmas day? When do you actually sit down to actually eat? Because that's the only other thing about Christmas Day, particularly if you go out to church in the morning, how you time cooking everything. And I usually never started cooking until I got home.
Yeah.
Which means that it was always very late. Christmas lunch was actually Christmas supper, really.
Right.
So everybody would keep going with bacon sandwiches and things like that during the day while they opened their presents and got messy and still had dressing gowns on often. And then you'd have your meal much later.
We do it about 2 o'clock. There you go. So we get 2 o'clock, then you've got time to recover, spend the afternoon, and then everyone
But that
comes
means you're
2
still
hours.
eating while the Queen was doing her speech.
Yes, we'd always. Well, to be fair, we never really watched the Queen's speech as a rule and regulation sort of thing. Started that over the last few years, but of course you can just watch it back on iPlayer.
I know, but it's not the same, is it? You want to watch it live. It'll be an interesting one this year as well.
It will be.
I wonder if he's done it yet.
Probably.
He probably has by now. But what sort of things is he going to say? Because there are all sorts of things happening in his own family.
But it'll all be about the Queen.
How you talk about family togetherness when his, William and Harry are clearly at daggers drawn at the moment, or almost. I don't know. I don't know what he'll say. I suppose, yes, it will be looking back on the life of the Queen.
Yeah, it's bound to be this year. But anyway, we shall see. So we'll watch it, but probably just not at 3 o'clock.
OK.
But there you go. Let us know before we come to Christmas blows over it all here in the studio.
I know. It's amazing how firmly people feel about it, the way you spend your Christmas. What do you do?
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, we've got much more to come for you, including the papers with Claire Muldoon and David Hamilton.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
There's a guy who went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
No, 6:34. What am I talking about? 8:34. Don't know what's going on.
Wishful thinking,
Wobbly
I
timey
don't know.
wimey this morning. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. Q-Anne.
Well, yes, I know, but I've been looking at the Sunday Times. No, I'm looking for Britain's best hotel.
Oh.
And according to the Times, it is the Retreat at Elcott Park in Berkshire. Looks absolutely...
It does look very nice.
We could go there for a couple of days, put our feet up and swim in the pool. Wouldn't that be nice?
Nice.
OK, I'll find out more for you.
Fancy about that.
Yeah. Shall we have a look at the front pages to start with, then? And let's go to the Times. which says the panicking Tories are planning tough new laws on asylum.
The Guardian, ministers accused of... It's not The Guardian, it's Observer. It's all about Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ministers are accused of spoiling for a fight with nurses over pay.
And then the pharmacies are going to be drafted in to break the NHS strike, according to The Telegraph.
Mail on Sunday has its serialisation going on about Matt Hancock's pandemic diaries, and also has an exclusive from a palace insider who says the royals are weary of Harry and Meghan. Bet they are.
I think other people are
I think
too.
we are.
The Mirror calls Meghan and Harry's Netflix series utterly explosive, saying it's worse than the royals can imagine. However, nobody's seen it yet.
Well, they must have had a preview.
Do you think they have?
Yeah, you get... If you've got the right thing, you get a preview code and you can just watch it on your TV at home. I've done that in the past. So you get to see it quite a bit in advance. Yeah, so there you go.
So apparently it's utterly explosive.
Sunday People says, yes, we can, as millions get ready for the Three Lions battle against Senegal tonight.
And The Star goes even further and says we should all rub Gary Lineker's ears for good luck. I don't understand that one, really.
No, I don't want to rub his ears.
No.
Frankly, Gary Lineker. No
I know, is
fan,
he the key to us?
I don't think
successful?
so.
No, I don't.
Just
either.
waffles on with his pretence of a moustache, doesn't he?
Oh, is that what it is?
What is that about?
It's a 5 o'clock shadow.
It's like, just either have a moustache or don't have a moustache. That thing looks terrible.
I think with all his money he could afford a proper one.
Well, get one transplanted on Gary, you're loaded. It's a BBC pay him about 4 million quid a year.
A moustache transplant? Do they do things like
You
that?
could have anything transplanted. Just about. Let's go through the papers then with broadcaster Claire Muldoon and legendary broadcaster David Hamilton. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. It's 20 to 7, by the way.
It is now.
I'm losing
You're wishing
track.
time away.
I am. Sunday Times, David, looking at what the Tories are planning to deal with illegal migration.
Yes, indeed. They are planning to put every illegal immigrant in detention on arrival. They're planning to put a cap on the number of people granted asylum at 20,000 a year. And in a poll, 84% of people say the government is handling illegal immigration, handling the problem badly. I'm surprised it's as low as that, 84%. I'd have thought, who on earth could think that they were handling it well?
So what was the figure for the cap?
20,000.
Well,
yeah,
we've
20,000.
already had 34,000 over in dinghies this year so far, and with a projection of another 3,000 before the year is out. So we're already...
That's illegal. I mean, the cap is presumably legal migration, isn't it?
Yes, you don't put a cap on illegal.
No.
Well, can you put a cap on anything? Because that's the thing that's really going to have to help us and stop everything.
Legal net migration has hit 504,000 this year.
But apparently our government has been talking to the government in... Albania, thank you. It's completely gone brain freeze. Yeah, we've been talking to them for a couple of years now, and they have come to some sort of agreement whereby Albanian illegal immigrants will be literally just turned around and sent back. How that's going to work, I don't know.
I'm surprised that so many people want to come here. I mean, have they heard about all the strikes and have they heard about, all the problems that we're dealing with? Why does everybody want to come here?
I tell you what's interesting in that the claims in the Sunday Times is that they would make it so that anyone who tried to cross illegally would never be allowed to settle in the UK.
Yeah.
Legally.
You mean there'd be a black mark against them?
There'd be a black mark against them, and that is it. Now, that's a good deterrent, isn't it?
I'll tell you what bothers me is that we've heard all this before, haven't we, from Priti Patel. Now we're hearing it from Suella Braverman. We hear an awful lot of talk, but no action. It's really time, let's just do something.
Yeah, well, fair point. Your thoughts on that, please. Get in touch this morning. Sunday Telegraph, Claire, looking at a winter of strikes.
Well, we know we are. Nurses are going on strike, Royal Mail going on strike, rail workers going on strike, both from the ASLEF and the RMT. What is left to do then in this country? We've got snow predicted next week. We've got 49% of the country aren't Christian. Well, that'd be 1 in 2 of us then not supporting Christmas or buying Christmas cards. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Clue is in the name, I have to say. Anyway, pharmacies drafted in to break the NHS strike. This has been mooted under Theresa Coffey when she was Health Secretary under Liz Truss. Pharmacies have always been used as the first in triage of ailments, or if your child is sick or whatever, it would be the local pharmacist, and I think that's a great model to use. However, now what the government are proposing is that pharmacists will be enabled to prescribe things like antibiotics. The flip side of that, of course, is the fact that lots of people have built up immunity to antibiotics. And if we just start giving them out again, what will be the net result of that in terms of
Well, they'd have to dish them out under guidelines.
Well, yes, but you say that. But then, have you ever seen how busy pharmacies are at the moment? You know, people can go there for their flu jabs. They can go there for, you know, lots of different things. And I think it's great.
But pharmacists are, I think we all acknowledge, very clever and are really good at what they
qualified
do. But have they been trained to be diagnosticians? Because if you've got somebody going in with a child who's poorly, or if you're feeling bad yourself, how does the pharmacist tell whether or not antibiotics should be prescribed?
Well, that's the age-old question, isn't it? And there's a view of thought both in the professional lives of GPs and indeed pharmacists that antibiotics might not work. But on the flip side of that, children are dying from strep A. You know, we've had six deaths or something. So we've got these unmanageable infections rising, I think, due in part to lockdown because children were not able to mix with one another and therefore the natural ability to not transfer on infections or bugs or viruses was completely and utterly diminished. So, yes, I think this is a good thing. 2, it's been a point that's been mooted for such a long time. 3, when will we see it actually happen?
Got to pay pharmacists more.
And we'd love to hear from some pharmacists, if there's anyone watching at the moment, if you work in a pharmacy or you are the pharmacist, are you happy at this new role, at this new responsibility? Do you feel you'd be able to do it? Would you be able to cope?
I think they'd jump on it as an opportunity, but there's been a big problem with pharmacies and the contracts they get from government in that they're not getting enough funding.
Well, would they have the confidentiality area within the pharmacies as well?
They've all got a consultancy room.
Not all of them, I don't think, have they?
Yeah, they've all got a little one, yeah. But anyway, let us know if you're a pharmacist or a community pharmacist.
Please do, yes.
Love to know.
I mean, they were drafted in to do all of the jabbing, weren't they, the vaccine?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've done a fantastic job.
They have.
Sunday Mirror, David. Harry and Meghan. I am dreading this programme.
It's our favourite topic, isn't it? Harry and Meghan. And according to the Mirror, the Netflix show is going to be worse than the royal family could ever imagine. I mean, how can it be worse than we've heard already? And I think, actually, Stephen, you might have seen some of this, have you?
Well, I've not seen it, no, but there will be... I mean, people like this in the Mirror will have seen it.
There will be previews that people will be seeing, and we're going to see it very soon, aren't we?
Yeah.
Is it this later on?
It's coming on this week.
Later on this week, yeah. You see, what I don't get about these two is this. Without the royal family, what would either of them be? She would be a little-known actress. God knows what he would be doing, and yet they spend the whole time rubbishing the very institution that has made them everything that they are today.
Yes,
we're going to have the Netflix series. After this, we're going to have his book. I mean, how much CRA
David, you say all of
throw
that
at the royal family?
And I don't disagree with a word that you have said. However, I will be tuning in to watch it.
Why?
Yeah.
Because I'm intrigued. The Oprah Winfrey interview was a complete car crash. It proved on so many levels that Meghan didn't tell the truth on at least 3 points. But this is... And they had their own cameraman at Buckingham Palace when Mexit happened. I'm just intrigued to see what their view is. And whilst the royal family are saying they're weary of it, I'm weary about listening to them, but I'm guilty of funding the absolute oxygen into their rhetoric and their narrative.
Well, it's interesting.
And I will be watching.
The People saying on their front page, William or Harry, the public will have to choose. Well, I think the public will choose William and Catherine.
Well, I think what's interesting is what the Americans think, because, I read in one paper, I think it was yesterday, that Harry and Meghan are winning the battle in America. And you think, well, how gullible are they to buy this hogwash that we're all being given? I mean, one thing that gets to me, there have been so many lies, so many things that have been said that turn out to be absolutely untrue. So, what can you believe of what we're going to see now?
The whole of South Africa out on the streets celebrating their wedding.
Yes, that's
and all
right.
That sort
More
of
than
thing.
Nelson Mandela's homecoming. And another one of I think it's the Sun on Sunday, are saying that William has already made it known that he will fight back. He's not going to take it lying down.
Well, I hope so. I mean, not that I like people washing their dirty laundry in public, and I don't think family affairs need be that way. However, this is a publicly funded family that does a lot for the country, especially after the Queen's passing. I think it's really quite in bad taste. But I do hope William does stand his ground. I do hope they do refute any of the accusations that will come from this Netflix documentary. And I think Netflix are actually distancing themselves from the couple themselves. So that's quite interesting too.
Well...
No, they are.
Well, still paid them 85 million quid and
there's a lot of money riding on it, isn't there?
You will want to get your money back, won't you?
Yeah.
I think we should have a study of narcissism. That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Well, you do wonder. I am losing... So I keep saying I've tried to be so patient, always liked Harry, tried to be supportive of Meghan when she joined the royal family, and it's just worn me down now.
I don't know if we've got it to show you. I know that it's there around somewhere. There's this little video that Harry has brought out overnight for one of his charities.
Oh, and it's the Spider-Man.
Yeah, the Spider-Man.
Scotty's Little Soldiers.
It's absolutely beautiful, and it just shows... You look at it and you think, this is the Harry we miss.
And love, yeah.
Yeah, this is the Harry we knew and loved.
He was such a happy chap.
I don't know if we've got it.
No, we haven't, no.
We'll find it for you a bit later, but it's absolutely charming. And it just made me feel so sad.
The image of him was, when he was younger, was such a happy, likeable, lovable bloke, wasn't it? And now he's just turned into a sort of misery, whinging and whining about absolutely everything. You know?
And frankly, even if any of their whinges are justified, haven't they made their point on this? You know, how many times are they going to revisit it?
I think Claire's point is interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, you watch it despite yourself, because part of it, you actually just can't believe it. You couldn't make it up, could you? You think... Can they really be saying this?
You see, this is what I don't understand. If you're sort of thinking that they're spinning lies, right, and causing problems, why watch it? I just couldn't sit there and watch it. In all good conscience, I couldn't watch it.
But as a journalist, you have to, do
no,
you not?
But you must have watched the Diana interview on Panorama.
Yes, but that was different. That was years ago.
Isn't that what Harry and Meghan are doing themselves now? They're trying to blow up the royal family, aren't they?
It sells newspapers. And it will sell Netflix, won't it? And that's what it's all about. It comes down to money at the end of the day.
It's sad that they've got no good guidance, which is clear, because one of the chief executive of Archwell has just resigned after 14 months in the job. They don't seem to have any good, solid guidance or good people behind them. Where have her parents disappeared to, you know?
Well, she's alienated her own family. Well, we don't know about her mother. No, maybe not her mother. But she's got problems within her own family, and now they seem to be causing problems within Harry's, and it's just so sad.
Finish up with Billy No Mates.
Well, yeah, I'm afraid it's going that way. Let's just have a quick look at the Sunday People, should we? Yes, we can.
Is it coming home, David?
Sunday People. Oh, yes, we're on to that one. Yeah. Yes, of course, it's the big match tonight.
Is it really? What match? I missed something.
No,
what's happening tonight?
Even I'm going to watch
What's happening tonight?
Well, you're Scottish, so you wouldn't know.
Football, are they?
England and Senegal are playing tonight, and it's very interesting because it's going to be on ITV, and apparently... England never win on ITV.
Oh, dear.
Since 1990, we've won just twice when we've been screened on ITV in 15 World Cup appearances. So it appears as though Gary Lineker is our lucky charm.
Oh.
I thought I would never say that, but, but there you are.
There was one very famous football match, wasn't there, that was screened by ITV, and they took the decision to go to a commercial break. And then there was a goal. So they missed it.
Oh, God. Well, I don't think that will happen tonight. I mean, I think there is a lot of feeling. I don't think we played Senegal before in the World Cup, and there's a lot of feeling that, you know, one of the things that's impressed me is that they seem to be so happy out there. When you see them training, you know, they look like there's a great camaraderie. They look like they're really enjoying themselves. And I think that means a lot. Perhaps having the Wags there helps as well. The only thing I would say is that every year, don't we build ourselves up.
We do.
And if they do go out, it's going to be such a downer, isn't it? So we really have to hope that the curse of ITV doesn't work tonight.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Look, thank you both. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on.
Meanwhile, let us know what you do on Christmas Day, because we've got lots of comments coming in. We'll go through them in a few moments.
It is 6:50 on the nose. Let's bring you up to date with some of the other headlines. And Border Force officers and firefighters could be replaced by military personnel. due to scheduled strike action over Christmas. Part of contingency plans announced by the government, 2,000 members of the armed forces are being trained alongside civil servants and volunteers to help limit disruption.
The chair of the National Care Association has condemned Matt Hancock's account of how he managed care homes during the COVID pandemic. He says it's a deluded version of events. In his new book, the former health secretary insists the virus was mainly brought into facilities by infected staff. But in the early stages of the outbreak, COVID patients were discharged from hospitals into care homes without testing.
And Gareth Southgate and the team are ready for a penalty shootout, apparently, if it comes to it. England facing the winners of the Africa Cup of Nations tonight in their first match in the knockout stages of the World Cup. Senegal won their title only 7 weeks ago and then came runner-up in their group stages of the World Cup. But the Three Lions are favourites to go through to the next round.
I just couldn't bear it if it goes to penalties. I can't bear watching penalties.
Oh, well,
it's just too hard.
Grit your teeth and get through it. Now, if you're planning to eat, drink and be merry this Christmas, good on you, but perhaps you'll need a bit of a fitness plan to keep yourself in check.
Reverse running, that's backwards running, or retro running as it's known professionally, is the latest, hottest new fitness trend apparently, and it's been all over social media, experts dubbing it the fitterati. But is there any truth to it? We're joined by fitness guru Josh Saltzman to find out. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, Anne.
Running
Good morning, Stephen.
backwards, why on earth would that make a difference to anything?
Well, I think it's good to change direction when you're running or walking. But let's say this, first of all, to the audience out there, that it's very important that if you haven't walked on a treadmill properly, don't start walking backwards, because you can make the medicine worse than disease. But there is the truth to the fact when you have to concentrate more by, say, you're in an open field and you're walking in the park and you walk backwards, it's good for your muscles to change direction because it stimulates your muscles. However, and it also prevents injury, however, but practice first. And I would say this, it's also very important to walk uphill. And I would say with a lot of people that do one type of exercise, like say cycling or they're on a treadmill, it's very important to change exercises. So walking backwards is just another way of stimulating different muscle groups.
Yeah, I mean, these people look like idiots, don't they? Are they...
It looks like we're just running the film the wrong way around. But you do see, when you see, I mean, at the moment, when you're seeing the footballers out in Qatar at the moment doing their exercises and everything, limbering up, and I've seen Andy Murray do it as well, so I presume in tennis it's very important. They do a lot of running backwards, don't they?
Yes, running backwards and running sideways is very important because you have to be versatile. I used to wrestle internationally, so you had to move forward and backwards. In fact, I had an aerobic class that used to be quite severe in the 80s, and I think a lot of people got injured from it, but we were doing a lot of back and forward movements. But I think the thing about it is, it's very important whenever you're trying to lose body fat that you can't walk yourself backwards out of poor nutrition. So you have to eat right. So unless you're eating right, no exercise program is going to really work.
Well, see, I was wondering with this, because I can understand the dynamic of it and thinking you exercising different muscle groups in different ways by doing things backwards, right?
Correct.
So in terms of keeping fit, I understand it. In terms of changing our body shape, losing fat, does it make any difference?
It does to some extent, because anytime you're having to concentrate more, you actually are burning more calories because your brain uses glycogen just the way your muscles do. But having said that, you can exercise larger muscles by moving backwards, which will stimulate more caloric expenditure. But the truth of the matter is you really need to eat right, to sleep enough, and to do a variety of different exercises in order to produce the best weight loss program.
Yeah.
Is there any point now, at this time of year, as we're only sort of less than 3 weeks to Christmas,
yes,
is there any point in worrying about diet now? Should you, because we know we're going to probably overindulge, should we leave it till the new year?
Well, I would say this, that I wouldn't leave it to the new year. I would start now, if people aren't exercising, to think about eating correctly. And when it comes to Christmas, when it comes to parties, have a great time, but don't beat yourself up about it. And anybody that hasn't exercised, I would say the thing is to start slowly to get in shape quickly. And, so I wouldn't say put it off, but I would say chill out a bit because you only go around, life once. So it's good to have some fun as well as, be serious at times.
Well, maybe going backwards actually adds a bit of fun.
Yes.
It's an extra challenge, isn't it?
Well, it's also to know whether you've drunk too much on Christmas.
Well,
so you can't walk backwards properly. So that's the way, too.
But I'll tell you what, Josh, you can walk backwards out the studio now. John, thank you very much. Great to see you.
Thank you very much to
this
see
morning.
you guys again.
Don't go anywhere. We've got all the key news and sport, of course, after the weather. But looking ahead to today's weather in the UK is going to be fairly grey for many, chilly in a brisk easterly breeze. These are the details then.
Areas in the far southwest of England may see the odd brighter spell, but the cloud will make it a grey day for most. Showers will also fringe southern coasts of Cornwall.
Like much of the UK, southeast England will experience a keen breeze today. It's going to make it feel closer to about 2 degrees when you go outside. A little bit of light rain is possible as well for southern Wales, and this may include a small amount of sleet over the mountains.
Then central areas of England will tend to stay drier, but there'll still be a large amount of cloud around, making it a rather dull second half of the weekend for many.
It's eastern coasts that are going to see the most frequent showers. The occasional one may be heavy, actually. They'll feed inland on the brisk breeze, so don't go out without an umbrella.
Hold on to it fast. The showers and cloud will also push into eastern Scotland. However, northwest Scotland will likely see the brightest skies across the UK, thanks to the development of some sunny intervals.
Western counties of Northern Ireland are also in with a chance of seeing some sunny spells today, but eastern coast affected by scattered showers from the Irish Sea.
And we'll retain a very similar setup through this afternoon and evening with further showers in the east, and that's how your weather is looking today.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512,
Virgin Media Channel 604,
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236,
and YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere. Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
England prepare to face Senegal tonight in their first knockout game of the World Cup.
Good morning. It's 7 o'clock on Sunday, the 4th of December. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne. Here are the top stories you need to know about today.
3 Lions coming face-to-face with the African champions Senegal tonight for the second leg of their World Cup journey.
Yeah, how good are the Teranga Lions? How much of a threat will they pose to England? And the winner will meet France or Poland. We'll have all the details coming up.
Yes, big day ahead. Sorting out the strikes. Rishi Sunak will set out plans to bring an end to the winter walkouts. The Prime Minister has put Cabinet Office Minister Oliver Dowden in charge of preparing contingency plans. We'll be asking a bit later on the Conservative Party chairman, Nadeem Zahawi, what's going on.
Talking of plans, the King's coronation plans have swung into action as the St Edward's crown was removed from the Tower of London to be resized. We'll talk about its history and what's going to happen to it for King Charles.
And as ever, you can join in any of our discussions. Everybody's been getting in touch about their Christmas Day rituals. It seems that everybody spends Christmas Day sort of slightly different. Do you have the television on? When do you eat? Do you allow the family to stay in their PJs all day? What goes on in your house on Christmas Day? Do get in touch and we'll go through your views in just a moment. But right now, you know how to get in touch. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
So, England are facing their toughest test yet in this year's World Cup. They're facing Senegal tonight for a place in the quarter-finals.
This is going to be the first meeting between the two nations, and the winner will meet reigning champions France or Robert Lewandowski, is it? Poland, basically, in the next round.
Well, let's check into Qatar. Paul Hawkins is there for us. I mean, there's obviously everything to play for, everything to lose tonight, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what makes this phase so fascinating. It's basically winner takes all. You can't just get a draw and then hope that you can do better in the next game. There is no next game. You have to win. And the interesting thing is, you mentioned this is the first time Senegal are playing England. Actually, a lot of the Senegalese players will know the England players. Some of them do play in the Premier League. The captain, Koulibaly, plays for Chelsea. The goalkeeper, Senegal's goalkeeper, also plays for Chelsea. There are other players that play in the Premier League and in Italy and in France. So a lot of the Senegal players do know the England players. There will be that familiarity there. And Senegal, there's no bones about it, they became African champions by beating Egypt, who are one of the traditional African powerhouses. They beat them in the Africa Cup of Nations final and then beat Egypt again to qualify for the World Cup. So they are a serious side. They're going to pose a greater challenge than Wales, the USA or Iran have to England so far. And England are going to have to up their game somewhat, as the England manager Gareth Southgate has been explaining.
I think Aliou has done a fantastic job. They were very unlucky not to qualify from the group in Russia, and you know, they've deservedly done it this time. So we know exactly the size of the task ahead of us. Well, it's a good position to be in. You want your players in confident mood, and our forward players are. Of course, you want to try to make the best possible decision, but in some respects, I'm not sure there's a right or a wrong.
Yeah, so he was referring to Aliou Cisse there, the Senegal coach, who's actually ill at the moment, and we don't know whether he's going to make tonight, as the assistant manager for Senegal explained yesterday.
Yes, he's been sick for a couple of days now, and he let us take charge of training yesterday, obviously with his instructions that we got across to the players. And hopefully tomorrow he will be able to come and be on the bench with the players. But we are sure that at 10 p.m. tomorrow he will be there with the team. That's for sure.
Yeah, so Aliou Cisse, he played for Senegal when they got their best ever World Cup result, reaching the quarterfinals in 2002. In fact, one of only 3 African countries, Ghana, Senegal, to reach the quarterfinals of the World Cup. It's going to be difficult for England, and overshadowing all of this is the health of Pelé at the moment. Reports say that he's not responding to chemotherapy treatment in Brazil at the moment. It's going to be, so a lot of people are watching him. They had buildings in Qatar lit up last night with his shirt and pictures of the great man himself, the only man to score 1,000 goals, the only man to win 3 World Cups. And Harry Kane had something to say about him yesterday.
Yeah, no, first and foremost, you know, we send our best wishes to him and obviously all his family as well. And inspiration amongst our game, you know, incredible footballer, incredible person. And yeah, to hear those words back then from him was really special for me. And I always feel like I'm someone who is always learning and will continue to learn for the rest of my career.
Well, we're getting excited here. Paul, is there much of a sense of excitement where you are at the moment yet? Has it built up?
Not yet, because that one is the England game kicks off at 10 o'clock local time. But before that, France take on Poland. There's a few France fans mingling around. And also because it's now the knockout stages, a lot of the fans, you know, this place was packed with Argentina fans, with Mexico fans. All those fans have kind of filtered away now. So obviously less teams means less fans. So it's a little bit emptier. It's a little bit quieter at the moment here. But no doubt as we head towards those games at 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock your time, the excitement will build.
Yeah. OK, Paul, thank you very much indeed. Well, look, that's one side of it, if you like.
It is, but we are being warned again and again that we must not imagine that the Senegalese side is going to be in any way a walkover.
No, it's not. Let's talk to African sports journalist Mark Sally. Morning to you, Mark. Look, bring us up to spec then on the Senegalese side. How difficult is this going to be if England want to take a victory tonight?
Yeah, good morning. Well, of course, I'm an African, so I start from that point, the fact that we're all rooting for Senegal, and I'd like for them to be at their very best. If they are at their very best, England are going to have a tough time. Listen, England have found it a little easier to score than Senegal or a few other teams at the World Cup, and but there was that one game against the USA where they couldn't break a defense down, and we're hoping that the Senegalese match that kind of defending, so they can give England a bit of trouble. It's for England, of course, they've got to expect physicality, because the Senegalese, like most African teams from Sub-Saharan Africa, actually do well. They are physical. They're going to get in there, get stuck in. They're going to match up to the English on the physical, at a physical level, and so they're going to make it really, really difficult. One of the strengths of Senegal, of course, under these circumstances, is the fact that they've been playing well together as a unit, especially after they'd lost their superstar, Sadio Mane. But even with him, what stood out when they were winning the Africa Cup of Nations and also going through qualifying, in which they eventually knocked out Egypt, was that they were a unit. They built from the back. And they played for each other. And it should be a bit difficult for England. If you ask me, England should know quite well about what Senegal have to offer. Back in 2002, when Senegal went through to the quarterfinals, all the players that were in there were playing out of France and a few out of Senegal, and they ended up in the English Premier League. Now they are already in the English Premier League before they play against England, so everybody will know a bit about them. It's not the same case as in 2002, where Bouba Diop or El Hadji Diop or Aliou Cisse, the coach himself, Salif Diao, those guys played out of France and then ended up in England. Now, some of the players that the English have to watch out for are guys they play with on a regular basis or against on a regular basis. Eduardo Mendy in goal, and Kalidou Koulibaly, who is the leader, who is the guy who shows up the defense and is known for what he's done at Chelsea in the few months he's been there. And that midfield is held together by Idrissa Gueye, Ghana, who plays at Everton, who's very well known in England because he's been there, then gone to PSG and gone back to the English Premier League. And the most outstanding of the attackers is, in the absence of Sadio Mane, has been Ismail Assar, who everybody in England should know about because he plays with Watford and played in the Premiership before they got relegated. So, yeah, they're a very strong team from back to front, and they play to they should make it very, very difficult for England. I am hoping so, at least, and so millions of Africans. Yeah.
Are you going to be in the stadium tonight?
No, I'll be on TV.
Oh, right.
Oh, right, of course.
Fair enough. Yeah, you've got to work through it. Look, Mark, really good to talk to you, and I hope in the nicest way that you don't get your wish tonight. Let's hope not.
May the best team win.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Really great to see you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. It's all to play for. Game of two halves. Can't think of any other phrases at the moment.
But isn't it nice when you could have a sort of the friendly rivalry?
Oh, yes.
You know.
Of course.
Well,
an awful lot of those teams play for British, or have played for British teams in the past, so there you go.
But, obviously.
But it'll be one worth watching, I reckon, tonight. Will you?
I'm going to watch it,
I'm going to watch it too.
Yeah, so there you go. Settle down with, I might treat myself to a bag of crisps or something.
Oh, the wickedness of the man.
That is quite wicked, because I'm on a diet.
I might have a drink and a packet of crisps.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Bacardi?
It might be,
yeah.
I think so, yes.
Fair enough. It is 11 minutes past 7. Let's bring you up to date with some of the other top stories. And Border Force officers and firefighters could be replaced by military personnel due to planned strike action over Christmas. Part of a contingency plan announced by the government, about 2,000 members of the armed forces are being trained alongside civil servants and volunteers in an attempt to limit disruption.
The Home Secretary says she had told the head of the police watchdog to resign or face immediate suspension after he himself became the subject of a criminal investigation. Michael Lockwood had been Director General of the Independent Office for Police Conduct since 2018, and then he resigned on Friday, citing personal and domestic reasons. But Suella Braverman says she took immediate action upon learning that the police are investigating an historic allegation.
And the St Edward's crown is going to be resized for the King ahead of the coronation. The ceremony is expected to be smaller and shorter than Queen Elizabeth's. No 8,000 guests this time, about 2,000, I think. Despite this, it's expected there'll still be the same core elements of the traditional service. And on matters royal, Anne-Marie's been in touch, actually, with a really valid point. Anne-Marie says, I don't like the one-sided views on Harry and Meghan. Different views like mine should be talked about. Well, you're quite right, all views should be talked about. Like, why is Harry so upset? It's a far deeper emotional, life-changing event throughout Harry's life that has made him who he is. And I think you're absolutely right. Something's gone very wrong somewhere. I think the issue is, though, partly, it's how you deal with things when they go wrong. And you get the impression, and could be wrong, but you get the impression that rather than helping him come to terms with things in a positive way, she's pushing him in a negative direction.
Yes, and I do think it's also worth adding that somewhere along the line they should be seeing life in context. And they had, and still have, an incredibly privileged lifestyle. And while the rest of the country at the moment, and frankly throughout the world, are really worried about how to pay ordinary household bills, I think they should take a step back and think, well, we're very lucky to be where we are at all.
So I don't know why they don't. It's that whole thing of why don't they deal with it all in private? But, I mean, you're quite right, Anne-Marie. It's not all the horrible people, but it's how
I want to show you the video. I hope we're looking it out somewhere. Yeah, the video that Harry's just made for one of his charities.
Yeah, Scotty's Little Soldiers.
Absolutely beautiful. Scotty's Little Soldiers.
Yeah, it's for little children who've lost a parent.
Yeah,
basically.
It's in military families.
terms, yeah. And it's and he's dressed as Spider-Man, and he says some lovely things, and it is Harry at his best.
Yes.
Being compassionate.
It makes you
thoughtful.
ache for that Harry. It really does.
Just being like a really nice man. But somehow this negativity... I tell you what I always think with these sort of things, and I always bear it in mind, is when you're doing something, as they're campaigning against the royal family, there's no other way of putting it, is there? What is that doing to them? And I think that's very negative. It's bad for your soul to fight with a family. And I think it's bad. This is bad for him.
They just didn't need to do it.
Really. And so she should be encouraging him not to do things.
And
rather
do it
than
privately, solve his problems privately.
Rather than saying, well, let's get our own back and, you know, in public or whatever.
Well,
that's not the way
that's
to do
what
it.
got me about one of her moans to Oprah Winfrey was, or they both moaned about it, was the fact that she went to the palace staff several times, it is said, she said, and asked for sort of mental health support, and her pleas were just sort of blindsided. Well, you know, why didn't she just go and get a therapist of her own? She was the head of a blinking charity then. Why make the fuss through the palace? Why make it a bigger deal than it needs to be?
That's a fair point. Never thought of it like that.
We found that video. Do you want to watch it? Because it is delightful. And like I say, it shows us the Harry we all long to see much more of. Have a look at this. It's really nice.
Hey, Scotty little soldiers. Welcome to the Christmas party. I hope you guys got some rest before tonight's excitement. I hear from Sharky and George there are 5 villains that you guys need to stop from ruining Christmas. So, use your teamwork, your brains and your brawn to make sure that you do exactly that. Find them and don't let them ruin Christmas, okay? At the same time, Christmas is a time when we miss our loved ones really, really badly. And that's okay. But at the same time, it can be possible to feel guilty for having fun without our parents. But I'm here to assure you that our parents always want us to have fun, okay? So don't feel guilty. You're allowed to have the best time ever, especially with this Scotty Little Soldiers community. So go out there, have the best time, and Merry Christmas.
See, I think that's lovely.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's really nice. That's the Harry we want. You know, positive, kind-hearted. I'm sure he's a lovely fella. He's just being pushed in the wrong direction or driven in the wrong direction. I don't want to blame her entirely for it because I don't know the woman. But he's not being helped by any of this. It's not good for him, actually. Never mind the rest of the royal family.
And it can't be very nice for them.
No.
To feel they're under attack.
No. Anyway, you've got a view.
Yeah, let us know what you think. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Now, as the ballot opens for firefighters and control staff to vote on a 5% pay increase, and bin collectors Biffa starting a week-long walkout, it's being reported the government are keen to introduce emergency measures in a last-ditch effort to save us from a winter of strikes.
Well, the legislation is apparently being eyed up by Rishi Sunak, and it would mean a minimum level of service on strike days for key services like rail.
Well, let's get the lowdown from our political reporter, Catherine Forster, who's here. What exactly would it mean? Because there's all this talk about drafting in the armed forces and all that. I mean, that isn't going to make a difference with rail strikes and things. The army can't start driving trains, can they? So how does all this work in the round?
No, well, the government have been talking about this for quite a few months, actually. This has sort of been in the ether, and there is legislation going through Parliament at the moment. It seems unlikely to me that it would get through in time to stop stop these current strikes, but certainly going forward into next year, it might make a difference. So it would mean that certain sectors, transport, health, education, potentially, that are seen as actually completely key, would have to offer, by law, a minimum level of service. So there would have to be a certain number of trains running. There'd have to be a certain amount of the health service functioning normally, teachers teaching, etc. It's a grey area. We don't know the details, and we don't know how and when it will pass through Parliament. But clearly the government are desperate to get something through in law, because this does seem to be spiralling out of control, doesn't it? I mean, the number of public sector workers balloting to go on strike or going on strike, it seems like every day now, going into winter, people are going to be striking, and the effect's going to be very, very serious.
To bring that sort of legislation in, to actually make it law, wouldn't that not require it going through the Commons? you can see if there were a debate on this sort of thing, it polarising opinion across the political divide.
It will be very contentious, won't it? Because
where would Keir Starmer stand on that?
Particularly Labour, who've traditionally been, for the workers, supportive of the unions. Keir Starmer's trying to tread a very delicate line, isn't he? Wanting to say, we support people's right to strikes, but we don't want the strikes to happen. So whether this will get through and how far it can go are big unknowns at the moment, but the government are incredibly worried about the effect that these strikes are going to have. And so various cabinet departments have been meeting in the last week to coordinate Transport Department, Health Department, Home Office, trying to work out what they can do in the meantime to mitigate. So things like bringing in the army. But again, this all takes time. So army people are now being trained to potentially drive fire engines, ambulances, etc. And things like with the health, Steve Barclay, the health secretary, has very firmly made it clear that this 19% for nurses is not going to happen. I think most people, although the public are very broadly supportive of the nurses, think that 19% probably is not affordable. But things to mitigate, like saying, OK, well, you can't get to see a GP, the health service is under huge strain, but pharmacists will be able to provide antibiotics for things like urinary tract infections. But again, that was something that was discussed by the previous Health Secretary, Therese Coffey, under Liz Truss. They looked at that. And then there was going to be opposition from GPs to that, and worries about resistance to antibiotics. So none of this stuff is easy, but yeah, we're facing a very difficult winter, aren't we?
Yeah,
well, apparently, according to rumour, David Miliband is being drafted back in. Have you seen that?
Just what Keir Starmer needs.
Well, yes. Interesting, isn't it?
It is. So obviously he might have been selected back in 2010, and the unions backed the other brother, Ed, and look where that got us. Ultimately, he lost and led with the rule change to Jeremy Corbyn. And David Miliband has been working in the charity sector. He's been in New York, but now approaches have certainly been made. He, in the last week, hasn't ruled out a comeback. Might he go back to be Foreign Secretary? Might he be seen as leader in waiting? Is Keir Starmer going to be happy with that?
No.
Yeah, can't imagine it.
But it would frighten the Watsits off the Tories, because suddenly you've got another sort of Blairite type figure that people might be rather keen to believe in.
Yes, and there's some in the right of the Labour Party that feel they don't entirely trust Keir Starmer. Obviously, he came up under Jeremy Corbyn. He got elected to the leadership basically saying that he would adopt Corbyn's policies and promptly ditched nearly all of them. But, not everybody's keen on the VAT on private school fees. So there's plenty of people on the Labour right that feel they were sidelined for a long time that would like to see a return. I mean, obviously, Ed Miliband's got a big job with climate change, but would like to see both Miliband brothers back.
Well, Ed won't be happy.
Well, maybe
he won't be happy. He
Another brotherly
shot at leadership.
He stabbed his brother in the back.
He did.
I mean, dear me.
Brothers, feuds with brothers, hey? Yeah. The royals.
Honestly, I know, it never ends, does it? Catherine, thank you. We're talking about what you're going to do on Christmas Day, and it ties in with what Catherine was saying. Because Richard says, my Christmas Day will be coffee first thing, then drive to work for a 13-hour shift in His Majesty's prison, keeping the public safe. This forgotten service is not going on strike.
No, and terribly, terribly important.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
OK, another one. Carol in Stevenage says, I'm Jewish and I don't observe Christmas. This year I'll follow the tradition of my people and order in... Now, this is interesting. I'm going to order in Chinese food for Christmas Eve, so the next day I'll have leftovers. Hanukkah, the Jewish festival of lights, starts on the 18th and is observed for 8 nights, and then I'll spend the first night with my son and his family. Lots of different ways people are spending the festive season.
It's a Jewish tradition to buy
order in Chinese food
takeaway
on Christmas Eve.
Seems...
I know. I don't quite get that.
No.
Sounds tasty.
Maybe it's a modern tradition. But anyway, there you go. Well, good for you. Kerry says, Top of the Pops was a ritual in my family for years. Gutted it won't be on this year. No. There you go.
Maria says, this year is totally different for me because I lost my husband in February. And it was only ever us. It used to be TV on, he cooked and I chilled. So I don't know this year, but whatever it is, I'll be raising a glass to him on Christmas Day.
Yeah, yeah. Do something, Maria. Do something. I'm sure he wouldn't want you just sat there just having a sandwich.
No.
Anyway, look, don't go anywhere. We've got much more to come, including the mini England fans who'll be cheering on the Three Lions tonight.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel. Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8". My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week. "7:28, good morning to you, watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on this lovely Sunday morning.
Yes,
it's cold out, though.
It is bitterly cold out there, and they say, the weathermen say it's going to get colder and colder and colder through the week. So wrap up warm.
Yeah.
And if you're staying up to watch the match tonight, yes, maybe snuggle under a duvet. England are facing Senegal tonight. It's a biggie. It's the World Cup. It's a knockout one today, isn't it? Football fever sweeping all over the country. Everybody's getting excited and hoping it's going to come home this time.
Yes.
We are getting ourselves wound up in.
We are. I mean, even us, and we don't like football.
Absolutely.
But we're getting caught up in this spirit. You see, it's the way it happens, isn't it? Anyway, so if it's inspiring us, what's it doing for the next generation? Well, our Yorkshire reporter Anna Riley has been speaking to the mini England fans who are really getting behind the Three Lions.
England's success in Qatar has been inspiring the next generation of footballers, and World Cup fever has certainly spread amongst the youngsters at Pelican Park Community Trust, with many of the players excited for tonight's game.
I'm just excited for it, because I think England are going to win against Senegal, but yeah, I'm pretty excited.
England's winning. It's it brings everyone together and just to enjoy what football.
Loads of big footballers are just being creative and just inspiring the little kids, and it's just some of the goals are just inspiring me to try and do them. It's good, I like it. I've been trying to practice some of the goals that England have scored and all that. I think we're doing good at the World Cup, yeah. Football's coming home.
Sports coaches at the centre get a kick out of seeing the kids so passionate about the game.
You can definitely tell the World Cup has been on. We've had a lot more excited children come down. You go into a primary school and that's it. All they want to talk about is the World Cup. Come down here. We've had a lot more children come down recently since the World Cup has started. Everyone's football mad at the minute.
Yeah, so they're all coming up and talking about the games that have happened, trying out tricks that they've seen in the World Cup. I think that's a big thing. If they see something on the telly, they want to try it out here.
It's incredible, really, because they get to look at the role models on the TV, especially the England. They're seeing people like Harry Kane and Sterling and Saka and Rashford. I know they had a lot to live up to from the Euros. So the resilience that they're given in the football, these kids get to see it, and they kind of take those characteristics from who they see on the TV. So it's really good.
Gareth Southgate's side are on a mission to bring back the World Cup trophy, whilst at the same time making an impact on kids across the country. Anna Riley, GB News, Hull.
Now, Anna Riley's got a very special trick, hasn't she? Because she's recently interviewed quite a lot of children in reports like that, and lives as well, which is even more difficult. And she gets them to really chatter on. I don't know what it is about Anna Riley. They just love talking to her. And there's nothing better than an animated child like that.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful skill.
So lovely to hear. They're all so excited and plenty to say.
Don't!
Anyway, there you go.
Tempting fate, getting too excited about it all.
Jan, morning, Jan. For as long as I can remember, says Jan, Christmas Day has been enjoyed with a large roast turkey lunch, all the trimmings, crackers and laughter, followed by a traditional family coach game. I don't know what family coach is, but you see, that's the sort of thing we do. Lovely, that sounds just family and laughter.
Now, this one's good. Natalie says, for the last 25 years, we get 3 presents on Christmas Eve.
Ooh.
These are pyjamas. The rule is you can't take them off until Boxing Day. Christmas Day, we open... Yeah, so you put them on Christmas Eve, and then, you're in your pyjamas from there onwards.
That's fair enough.
Christmas Day, we open a bottle of champagne whilst opening our presents. For breakfast, we always have Eggs Benedict, prawn cocktail for lunch, and then a barbecue consisting of ribeye steak and homemade chips. This year, we're breaking the tradition, though, and we're going to the local Indian restaurant for a Christmas 5-course meal for 30 quid. Oh, that's a good deal, 30 quid for 5 courses.
That is a good deal.
Yeah.
Also, you won't be going in your pyjamas, though.
No, you'll have to break the rule.
You will have to break all the rules on that one. You see, I wouldn't want to go out for Christmas lunch.
Ah, now that's a big contentious one. A lot of people do, don't they? They go to a posh hotel or something.
Yeah, because I think it's the guilt of thinking these people are working, serving me and cooking for me and things, and they don't want to be here, probably.
Oh.
It's the guilt. I can't deal with the guilt of it all. Plus, of course, no one makes roast potatoes like my mother.
Oh, right. OK.
I mean, that's...
So she's going to be making them this year?
Yeah. She just... I mean, my mother's... Well, everybody's mother's roasts are the best, aren't they? But my
I'm not sure my kids would say that about mine, actually.
I love it. I love my mother's roast. It's like a real treat. Sean in Northampton says, this year we're off to the Highlands, where we plan to have a cocktail on Christmas Day, keeping toasty in front of an open fire in the middle of nowhere. Now that sounds like heaven.
That does sound nice.
Perfect.
On to Harry and Meghan.
Oh, right.
Leslie says, I'm not going to be watching Harry and Meghan's Netflix. I would choose William and Kate every time. They are gracious. They don't tell lies. They're lovely, caring people. But Martin has got a very interesting one. He says, I can't help but wonder now, is there more to this than we think? Personally, I think there is an agenda of which Harry and Meghan are just the figureheads. That would be a sort of anti-monarchy.
Conspiracy theory, though, isn't it?
Do you really think?
I think that's a step too far for me, I think. But, you know...
Well, Christmas in Canada. How about Christmas in Canada? Lauren, hi there, Lauren, says, in my family, the children would open one gift on Christmas Eve. Christmas lunch was at about 1 o'clock. We would play games after lunch, and at times, when we had a good, deep snowfall, we would get the horses and cutter for a sleigh ride and carols. Sounds nice. And then back to the house for a big pot of hot oxtail soup to warm up, and then the leftovers would come out from lunch and sandwiches, drinks and games around the table, right through to late evening, until some probably need to leave to drive back to the city. You've got it well worked out.
Yeah.
Sounds very Canada-ish, doesn't it, then?
It does, though, doesn't it? I just think...
Deep snowfall outside.
Oh, isn't that nice? What a nice... Well, we're going to have snow probably this year, aren't we?
I wonder whether it might be a white Christmas now, because it feels as though it's chilling up for it, doesn't it?
It is really getting cold now. But of course, which all sounds lovely, doesn't it? But you then got to put the heating on.
Well, I'm afraid that's happened already. I gave in to the heating today. Yeah, it's very cold down here. I'll bet further north you go. Although Scotland's having quite a sunny day today, but I think the further north it gets even colder.
I'm doing the boost. Put mine on a boost for an hour to take the edge off. So I keep doing that.
And then turn it off.
Yeah, just put it. If you just put it on for an hour, then you don't have to remember to turn it off. It turns itself off after an hour.
Can't do that.
It just takes the chill off.
Yes, that's all you need.
Yes.
But otherwise the chill gets right through to your bones.
You could do that if you actually installed your...
My Nest thing.
Hive thing.
The Hive thing, that's it, yeah. Yes, I've got it. It's in a drawer. It's not much use in a drawer, is it? I've got to get it out and study it.
I know, there's so much work I've got to do to get you...
You really have.
I know. Much more to come, including the papers with Claire and David.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons? I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us. We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us. on GB News, the People's News Channel.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512,
Virgin Media Channel 604,
Freesat Channel 216,
Freeview Channel 236,
and YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio,
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere. Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
7:40, you're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. Good morning.
Good morning. Shall we have a look through today's front pages? We'll start with the Sunday Times, saying the panicking Tories are planning tough new laws on asylum.
For the Observer, ministers accused of spoiling for a fight with nurses on pay.
And then pharmacies are to be drafted in to break the NHS strike, according to the Telegraph.
Mail on Sunday continues with its serialisation of Matt Hancock's pandemic diaries. It also has an exclusive from a palace insider who says the royals are weary of Harry and Meghan.
The Sunday Express claims William will fight back ahead of his brother's Netflix series.
The Sunday Mirror calls that series utterly explosive, saying it's worse than the royals can imagine.
So shall we have a look inside the papers now with broadcaster Claire Muldoon and radio and television legend David Hamilton. Lovely to have you both.
Thank you.
So we're starting, David, with you, aren't we? And when I saw the front page, it said the palace is growing weary. I thought it was weary of Matt Hancock's memoirs. They're weary of Meghan and Harry, but I think a lot of people are a bit weary of them.
They're being serialised in the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday. Would you read them?
I tried, but it's just not very interesting.
I mean, he's got to make hay while he can. As he's done I'm a Celebrity, now he's got his memoirs out. I mean, what's he going to do next? I mean, what sort of future does he have?
Maybe he should turn to his day job then as being an MP. Maybe that's what he ought to be doing.
Yeah.
Instead of all this nonsense.
Well, the front page of the Times today, the headline is Hancock diaries are an insult. And it says Matt Hancock's COVID memoirs are an insult to care home residents and staff. Furious owners said last night the former health secretary, whose book Pandemic Diaries is published this week, accused homes of being too slow to grasp the fact that they needed to test and of unscrupulously, that's a good word, isn't it, allowing staff to work with COVID. The main takeaway is that the virus is primarily being brought in by staff and by elderly people who've been discharged from hospital. So, you know, he's getting a lot of stick, isn't he, for that, really?
I wonder if that claim
not
will stand
surprisingly.
up to scrutiny. I wonder if, his version will stand up to scrutiny.
Will it be scrutinised, though, do we think?
Well, during the inquiry, it has to be.
Well, but that's the point. So it will be, at some point, scrutinised, and I just hope it is, found that he's talking a load of tosh for that diary entrance, because there's a lot of friends, a lot of family, a lot of people out there who took the brunt and bore the brunt at the initial stages of the COVID outbreak. No one knew what this was that they were dealing with. No one knew, really, how to deal with it. So everyone was running blind. But to put blame on those carers, on those care staff who were looking after the most vulnerable, perhaps, in society at that time, I think is ludicrous. And I just wish that someone could actually get a constituent in from his constituency to find out how they're feeling. It's their taxes. They voted him in. What do they think now about this Matt Hancock?
Maybe he's right.
I doubt it. But even why would he come out in his position and say that? It's incendiary and it's insulting, I think, to the care staff.
We can't just assume, though, that care staff, like nurses, we put them in a bubble, don't we? Say, well, they never do anything wrong, or they never...
I don't think that's the case. We're not saying that.
We've got to be able to judge it. cleanly, haven't we?
Yeah, we do, but that's what the inquiry will show when the COVID inquiry starts to hit. It will put things under the microscope to be held up to be scrutinised. But I don't think it's helpful for him to make these comments in a diary form, as if it's only a footnote in history. It's not.
I'll tell you what's incredible, really, is that you're turning failure into celebrity. You know, out of failure, you become, quote, a celebrity. It's
Did he
amazing.
fail, though?
Very undeserved.
Did he fail? I mean, I know he had to go because he got caught snogging his mistress, but I mean...
Exactly, and that's a bit yuck-making, isn't it? About,
Well,
but
when he told his wife that...
It doesn't mean he did his job badly, does it? I think that's why it's important that we have this very scrupulous, hopefully, inquiry, because we need to know whether he did his job as well as he could have.
But what's he doing now, then? You know, is he doing his job now? That's the thing.
Well,
he's been away for so long.
But he knows he's getting out of politics, doesn't he? That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his
constituents still need an MP.
Well, no, but it's what happens, is it? I mean, they've all been told that, you know, those people who want to leave, step down at the next election, will be told they should be saying it by tomorrow, at which point they'll sign off and check out, won't they?
Maybe he's going to become a sort of, you know, matinee idol or something.
Well, you never will, much like your good self, David. You never know. Claire, in the Scottish Daily Express, your favourite politician.
Yeah, not.
And
I just feel that we have to cover this because there is nothing in the English papers here this morning. However, it's been dominating the Scottish press over the past week and indeed Scottish Twitter. What with Ian Blackford now resigning after 5 years of being the chief whip of the SNP party at Westminster, the two ferries that has dodged and besieged the premiership of Nicola Sturgeon over these past few years is not an issue that's going away, regardless of her blustering attempts to refute allegations of mishandling. Now, these two ferries are late. They were due to be finished in 2023/2020. No, they will now be finished in 2023/2024 at a cost of almost 3 times the initial quotation.
Where were they going to operate, or where will they operate?
From Skye and the Highlands and Islands, OK? That's where they are supposed to operate from. And they're being built in the shipyards of Greenock. There's 2 things here. She's been held to account on the ministerial code being broken twice. Once for the introduction of a man called Jim McCall, who held the contract for the ferries. And her interview with him to discuss and establish a way forward or a format for accepting his quotation, his estimate, was supposed to have been documented as it was, quite a large contract and public finances to be used. Apparently, it's been shown that it wasn't documented properly, and nor did she have anyone from her committee, anyone from her government with her as an aide to articulate and be there for her when she was interviewing it. So that's 2 breaches of ministerial code. Now, also... Sorry.
No, I was going to say, because we're a bit tight.
Well, it's just an ongoing thing, and I just wish that Nicola Sturgeon would have the guts to turn up and either say, look, that's it, I'm going to focus on what we should be focusing on, which is health, which is law and order, and the budget and fiscal policy, instead of pretending everything is going to linchpin on a pretendy de facto referendum at the next general election.
Yeah, good luck with that. Let's just briefly, David, in the Mail on Sunday, an exclusive with your wife.
Well, yes, I saw this headline, Life with DJ, I was drunk for 5 years with an old man. And I thought, good heavens, Mrs H has sold her story to the Mail on Sunday.
So who is it?
But it actually turns out to be Billie Piper and Chris Evans. And she's talking about her time with him. She said, I was a pop star, and then suddenly, for 5 years, I was just drunk with an old man. She says, looking back, we are still great friends, and I learned a lot from my time with him. Being with someone who'd known fame, I learned a lot. She said, this is what she says about fame. She said, fame is awful, it's gross, it's such an awful thing. Many of my happiest times were pre-fame. So here is obviously somebody that, fame did not sit happily on her shoulders. But if she was drunk for 5 years, I'm surprised she remembers remembers anything of it, actually.
Well, exactly. There
She
you
was
go.
also very young when she became famous.
She was very young,
yeah.
She was, yeah.
She's a great actress, really good actress.
Yes, well, it's how you handle it all, these things. I think she's...
Just beware the older man. This is
Well,
isn't it? You know?
Yes.
Poor old Chris Evans being signed off as an old man.
Yeah, but at least they're still friends, which is...
Everything is relative.
With her
It is.
second husband. They're not friends, are they? Anymore?
That's why I'm here to make you two look so young.
Well, it works.
And we love that.
Works every time. Thank you both. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on.
So let's bring you up to date with today's top stories. And Border Force officers and firefighters could be replaced by military personnel due to the strike action over Christmas. It's part of contingency plans announced by the government. Around 2,000 members of the armed forces are now being trained alongside civil servants and volunteers to help limit disruption.
The chair of the National Care Association has condemned Matt Hancock's account of how he managed care homes during the pandemic as a deluded version of events. In his new book, the former health secretary insists the virus was mainly brought into facilities by staff. But in the early stages of the outbreak, patients were discharged from hospitals into care homes with no testing.
And Gareth Southgate says his team are ready for a penalty shootout if it comes to it. England face the African champion Senegal in their first match in the knockout stages of the World Cup. Senegal finished runner-up in their group, but are still without their star player due to injury. However, the Three Lions are still favourites, apparently, to go into the next round. Cross fingers.
Christmas is just 3 weeks away. We've been joined by a Christmas angel, Stephanie Tetchy. Good
morning,
morning.
Stephen and Anne. I'm missing the tinsel, though.
It's an Aaron sweater dress thing.
Oh,
I'm loving
thank
it.
love it too.
you. I saw it and I was like, I have to have it.
Wow.
Something I picked up on the Black Friday sale.
Beautiful.
Oh, really?
Beautiful. I tell you what, it'd be great if you were dancing in the crowd at Top of the Pops.
Oh my gosh, that was always one of my dreams, to actually be a part of the audience when I was a child. And unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon.
They're not doing a Christmas special.
No, they're not. So Top of the Pops left our screens in 2006, but the BBC thought the branding was quite strong, so they always kept the Christmas show, and it's been going for 57 years now. But unfortunately, it's not going to be on our screens this Christmas. And it's not because of the show doesn't really connect with audiences anymore, but as we know, the government has this ongoing licence freeze for the BBC, which means that the corporation has been forced to make, cuts of up to £28.4 million per year. And unfortunately, Top of the Pops Christmas Day is one of those that has got the cut.
It's probably quite expensive to put together, to be fair.
It is. It's not live on Christmas Day. It's never been filmed live on Christmas Day. But can you think of all the artists all over the world
all the rights and copyrights
and studio production work that goes into it? Is this, with the current economic climate, it just doesn't suit anymore. But they are going to be doing the Top of the Pops review of the year on BBC Two on Christmas Eve, where it will just be clips of artists who've performed over the last 12 months. So it's not as exciting as usually you get a bit of archive footage, which makes it quite fun, but there are other things that are going to be on our screens.
Martin in Shrewsbury's just written in and said, when I was little, I was never allowed to watch Top of the Pops at Christmas Day because it was at lunchtime. It always was a bit odd that it was at lunchtime. Of course, there was no way of recording programmes in those days, so I just missed out. It's always upset me.
And the thing is, I personally loved it because there's always this big kind of anticipation on who's going to be the Christmas number one, and that's not going to be there this Christmas, so not that excited. But there's other things that's going to be coming on this, so we'll go have the Great Festive Bake Off, which will be on Channel 4.
Oh, that'll be good.
And also BBC Strictly will be doing a Christmas Day special as well, and then we have Scrooge, A Christmas Carol, which is currently on Netflix, which I cannot wait to watch.
Oh, who's in
that's a new version, is it?
It's a musical adaptation. I'm going to actually watch it today.
Oh, right. Oh, that's quite interesting. Because isn't that Ryan Reynolds and they're Spirited or whatever it's called? That's a sort of modern take on Scrooge, isn't it?
Yep. So I'm really looking forward to watching
So you're
this.
going to be watching it today. Do you get a special? You get a special preview, do you?
No, it's on Netflix now.
Oh, it's on. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then also we got Happy Valley, which will be returning on New Year's. And before that, actually a good one is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse.
What's that about?
So it's actually an animated film, and it's going to have Idris Elba starring in it as well.
Oh, really?
Although it looks a bit Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yes, it does look very...
It's based on a novel from Charlie Mackesy. It's a best-selling novel.
Oh, right. Well, it'll be nice to have another lovely favourite, a bit like The Snowman.
You'll be too tiddled on Christmas Day to watch that.
I love watching Christmas TV. It's, to be honest, throughout the whole year.
What do you do on Christmas Day, then?
Christmas Day, have a bit of a breakfast, have a Christmas breakfast, and then I just watch all the movies, and then we do a Christmas lunch and a Christmas dinner. We have lots and lots of food.
Christmas lunch and dinner?
Yeah, lunch and dinner. Yeah, we go in, my family.
But television is part of your day.
Yeah, because I think
he doesn't have the telly
we don't have it on.
Why?
Just never have.
Oh
Just don't like it.
I think it just brings a part of the festive feeling with the family, especially if you've got kids around as well. You can watch it together. It's the early time of the year. I feel like it's OK to watch cartoons and all the rest. I think programming is at its best during Christmas.
Oh, well, there you go. It's just me. I'm the odd one out in the studio this morning.
You're not, I think. It just shows that it does divide people, actually, how they spend their Christmas Day.
I sort of think you can watch telly any time. If you're with the family, you just want to do family stuff.
But it's Christmas TV like Love Actually. I hope that comes on again.
It's the same old movies, isn't it? It's lovely to
you just know what to expect.
Oh, well, let us know what you think. GBviews at gbnews.uk. Stephanie, thank you for now. See you a little bit later on. Coming up, we've got much more football for you. But looking ahead to today's weather in the UK is going to be fairly grey for many, chilly in a brisk easterly breeze. These are the details then.
Areas in the far southwest of England may see the odd brighter spell, but the cloud will make it a grey day for most. Showers will also fringe southern coasts of Cornwall.
Like much of the UK, southeast England will experience a keen breeze today. It's going to make it feel closer to about 2 degrees when you go outside. A little bit of light rain is possible as well for southern Wales, and this may include a small amount of sleet over the mountains.
Then central areas of England will tend to stay drier, but there'll still be a large amount of cloud around, making it a rather dull second half of the weekend for many.
It's eastern coasts that are going to see the most frequent showers. The occasional one may be heavy, actually. They'll feed inland on the brisk breeze, so don't go out without an umbrella.
Hold on to it fast. The showers and cloud will also push into eastern Scotland. However, northwest Scotland will likely see the brightest skies across the UK, thanks to the development of some sunny intervals.
Western counties of Northern Ireland are also in with a chance of seeing some sunny spells today, but eastern coast affected by scattered showers from the Irish Sea.
And we'll retain a very similar setup throughout this afternoon and evening, with further showers in the east, and that's how your weather is looking today.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions. I have no time for cultural totalitarianism. We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
England prepare to face Senegal tonight in their first knockout game of the World Cup.
Good morning. 1 minute past 8 on Sunday, the 4th of December. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne. These are your top stories today.
The Three Lions will come face to face with the African champion Senegal tonight for their second leg of the World Cup. If successful, Gareth Southgate's squad will be through to the quarter-finals.
Yeah, how much of a challenge will Senegal face for England? It's the Teranga Lions against the Three Lions, and the winner will face either France or Poland.
Also this morning, sorting out the strikes. Rishi Sunak will set out plans to bring an end to the winter walkouts. The PM has put Cabinet Office Minister Oliver Dowden in charge of preparing contingency plans. We're going to be talking to Conservative Party Chairman Nadhim Zahawi a little bit later on.
And the King's coronation plans swing into action. This is the St Edward's crown, and it's been removed from the Tower of London to be resized. We'll discuss its history and its modification for the new King.
And we'd love to hear from you, as always. Plenty to talk about this morning, including just what are you planning for Christmas Day? GB Views at gbnews.uk.
Can't believe we're getting excited about football, but you can't help it really, can you? Because it's a big match tonight and it's an important one.
Yeah, it's getting contagious now, isn't it? Really is, really feeling that excitement because England are facing their toughest test yet in the World Cup, taking on Senegal tonight for that place in the quarter-finals.
Yes, it'll be the first meeting between the two nations, and the winner will meet reigning champions France or Poland in the next round.
OK, well, let's see how excited Paul Hawkins is getting, because he's out in Qatar for us this morning. I mean, it's a bit do or die, Paul, isn't it?
Yeah, in fact, it's completely do or die, really. There's no room for error now. You can't have one bad half and then have a great half and then kind of get away with it. England need to find that the best football they've played at this tournament so far has been against Iran and then in the second half against Wales, and they're going to have to replicate that and then take it up 2 or 3 gears to beat the likes of Senegal, who are African champions. They beat Egypt to become African champions. They then beat Egypt again to qualify for Qatar, and Egypt are kind of one of the big African footballing powerhouses. So that was an achievement in itself. Senegal have reached the quarterfinals of the World Cup along with Ghana and Cameroon, one of only 3 African countries to reach the quarterfinals of the World Cup. That was back in 2002. So they'll have ambitions to go as deep into this tournament as they can. England, of course, will pose a threat to them, but a lot of the Senegal players play in the Premier League. Their captain, Kalidou Koulibaly, plays for Chelsea. Their goalkeeper, Eduardo Mendy, plays for Chelsea. These are players that know the English team very well, and that is why Gareth Southgate, the England manager, is very aware of the threat that they pose.
I think Aliou has done a fantastic job. They were very unlucky not to qualify from the group in Russia, and you know, they've deservedly done it this time. So we know exactly the size of the task ahead of us. Well, it's a good position to be in. You want your players in confident mood, and our forward players are. Of course, you want to try to make the best possible decision, but in some respects, I'm not sure there's a right or a wrong.
Gareth Southgate referring to Aliou there, as in Aliou Cisse, the Senegal manager. He didn't actually take the Senegalese press conference yesterday because he's been ill, and there's actually doubts over whether he will be at the match tonight, as his assistant manager explained.
Yes, he's been sick for a couple of days now, and he let us take charge of training yesterday, obviously with his instructions that we got across to the players. And hopefully tomorrow he will be able to come and be on the bench with the players. But we are sure that at 10 p.m. tomorrow he will be there with the team. That's for sure.
Well, let's hope that he is, because that'll be, you know, good for balancing things out. And talking of health concerns, though, Paul, obviously, so, I mean, this really sort of dreadful news that Pele is now in palliative care, which, I mean, is certainly overshadowing things somewhat, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. He had a tumour removed from his colon in 2021, so he's been receiving chemotherapy treatment. There are some reports that he's now not responding to that and that he's been moved to palliative care, to end-of-life care. So a lot of people here are monitoring the great man's health. Of course, Pele, one of the only person to have won 3 World Cups, one of the greatest players of all time, and so someone that the England striker Harry Kane really looks up to.
Yeah, no, first and foremost, you know, we send our best wishes to him and obviously all his family as well. And inspiration amongst our game, you know, incredible footballer, incredible person. And yeah, to hear those words back then from him was really special for me. And I always feel like I'm someone who is always learning and will continue to learn for the rest of my career.
So we already know, just to bring it up to date with how the fixtures are looking at the moment, we already know one of the other quarterfinals. Argentina will play the Netherlands in the one of the quarterfinals. That's going to be one to look out for. A lot of rivalry between those two decent footballing countries. But only after Argentina just about squeaked past Australia. They had a bit of a scare from Australia last night, but managed to see them off 2-1. The Netherlands, meanwhile, beat the USA 3-1. So the Netherlands will play Argentina in one of the quarterfinals. The winner of England and Senegal tonight will play either France or Poland, who play beforehand at 3 o'clock your time. And that'll be one worth watching as well. Robert Lewandowski, one of the world's best players, plays for Barcelona, will be captaining the Poland side. France, of course, of Kylian Mbappe, one of the favourites to win the World Cup. And then the winner of that will play the winner of England and Senegal, who play each other at 7 o'clock your time, 10 o'clock local time this evening.
OK. Paul, thank you very much indeed. Go and get yourself a sweet mint tea or something, Paul.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Sounds a bit... Well, it's the sort of thing, isn't it? But it doesn't sound too well, Paul, does it? I think there's a bit going round, you know, in Qatar.
It's the heat. Brian says, morning, Brian. We allow all views, remember. He says, please don't assume that everyone is excited about the World Cup being played out in Qatar. They are not. I am particularly angry at this occurring at the moment, and I'm not in any way interested.
Oh, well...
Everybody's got a view.
You've got a view. But a lot of people are, Brian. That's the thing. And I'll tell you what is important in all this, whether you're a football fan or not, whether you agree with it being in Qatar or not, and we can understand why a lot of people aren't happy with that. The football fever that is sweeping the country, as it always does at a World Cup, part of the deal with that is that you want it to inspire the next generation.
Yeah, and give them something to smile about at the moment as well. Well, our Yorkshire reporter, Anna Riley, has been speaking to the mini England fans who really are getting behind the Three Lions tonight.
England's success in Qatar has been inspiring the next generation of footballers, and World Cup fever has certainly spread amongst the youngsters at Pelican Park Community Trust, with many of the players excited for tonight's game.
I'm just excited for it, because I think England are going to win against Senegal, but yeah, I'm pretty excited.
England's winning. It's it brings everyone together and just to enjoy what football.
Loads of big footballers are just being creative and just inspiring the little kids, and it's just some of the goals are just inspiring me to try and do them. It's good, I like it. I've been trying to practice some of the goals what England have scored and all that. I think we're doing good at the World Cup, yeah. Football's coming home.
Sports coaches at the centre get a kick out of seeing the kids so passionate about the game.
You can definitely tell the World Cup has been on. We've had a lot more excited children come down. You go into a primary school and that's it. All they want to talk about is the World Cup. Come down here. We've had a lot more children come down recently since the World Cup has started. Everyone's football mad at the minute.
Yeah, so they're all coming up and talking about the games that have happened, trying out tricks that they've seen in the World Cup. I think that's a big thing. If they see something on the telly, they want to try it out here.
It's incredible, really, because they get to look at the role models on the TV, especially the England. They're seeing people like Harry Kane and Sterling and Saka and Rashford. I know they had a lot to live up to from the Euros. So the resilience that they're given in the football, these kids get to see it, and they kind of take those characteristics from who they see on the TV. So it's really good.
England! Gareth Southgate's side are on a mission to bring back the World Cup trophy, whilst at the same time making an impact on kids across the country. Anna Riley, GB News, Hull.
If that doesn't make you smile, nothing will.
Well, that's why I think I will be egging them on tonight, because we need something to smile about so badly, don't we? It would be lovely to think that they could get through to the next stage anyway.
Well,
give us all something to smile about.
Well, it would, let's be honest. Look, it's 11 minutes past 8. Let's bring you up to date with some of the other stories. And Border Force officers and firefighters could be replaced by military personnel due to planned strike action over Christmas. Part of contingency plans announced by the government, 2,000 members of the armed forces are being trained up to try to limit disruption.
The Home Secretary says she told the head of the police watchdog to resign or face immediate suspension after he himself became the subject of a criminal investigation. Michael Lockwood had been Director General of the Independent Office for Police Conduct since 2018, and he resigned on Friday, citing personal and domestic reasons. Suella Braverman, however, says she took immediate action upon learning that there was this historic allegation.
And how's this for a hat? It's the St Edward's crown. It's being resized as we speak for the King ahead of the coronation next year. The ceremony is expected to be smaller and shorter than that of Queen Elizabeth. Instead of 8,000 guests, about 2,000. Despite this, of course, there will be the same core elements of the traditional service. Paul's been in touch. Morning, Paul. This is about what happens over Christmas, what we do over Christmas. And a lot of people actually getting in touch saying, well, you're going to be on my own. And it's about joining in as much as you can. And I know it's difficult if you're on your own, but sometimes just making that effort will make things feel a bit better. Paul says there's a homeless hostel in Islington, and on Christmas Day they put on a Christmas dinner for all the town's homeless. Everyone is welcome, and young volunteers are coming on as well to be waiters and waitresses. I mean, that's nice. That's great.
Yeah, and and actually, maybe if you are not looking forward to it, maybe one thing to look at is volunteering, actually, to help. In my village, there's a notice up saying we're putting on Christmas lunch. Either come and help or come and eat. But just come rather than be on your own.
Yeah.
And I think that's a nice way of putting it, actually.
Yeah.
And then a lot of other people will say, well, why not just go to church? But you may not be religious in any way. But going to church, that is a gathering of people and lovely music and might help lift the spirits. But I mean, of course, you don't want to be preached at if you're going to spend Christmas particularly missing somebody who you once loved or still love. Mark says, I've not celebrated Christmas since my mum passed away 16 years ago. Her birthday would have been on the 23rd of December. So it's a pretty sad time for you.
It is. I just sort of, with those sort of things, I always think if I had gone, I wouldn't want my loved ones to then not celebrate things just because I wasn't there. And I know people grieve and deal with things in different ways.
They do, yeah.
You
can't preach at people to say, oh, you should... In fact, it must be intensely irritating. Somebody say, oh, you should do this, you should try that. John says, I'll be working again Christmas Day. I've had 2 Christmas days off since starting work at 15, and I'm now 75.
You must do it because you love it.
What do you do? I want to know.
And Marion, I don't know quite... She says, I'm Jewish, and this year I'll be having a festive lunch of baked beans on toast and a glass of Prosecco, followed by trifle. Well and
what
good.
You like.
Then relaxing with quite a few Netflix shows, The King's Speech, A Bracing Walk, and finally, the England-Senegal match.
Yeah, but that's tonight.
It's tonight.
Yeah, that's not going to be on... Well, you could watch a recording of it on Christmas Day, I expect.
I mean, I don't know. I don't quite know, Marion.
I like the idea of baked beans on toast with a glass of Prosecco. I think that sounds rather nice.
I love baked beans on toast.
I do too.
Yeah, and I love trifle as well. So there you go. It's a winner. It's a winner.
It's a good one.
Now, as the ballot opens for firefighters and control staff to vote on a 5% pay increase and bin collectors Biffa start a week-long walkout, it's being reported the government are keen to introduce emergency measures to try to save us from winter strikes.
Well, it's legislation, and it's apparently being eyed up by Rishi Sunak, and it would mean a minimum level of service on strike days for key services.
Well, let's talk to the political editor of The Express Online, David Maddox, who joins us now. Morning, David. I mean, this has been in the offing for a while, of course, trying to get this legislation through. Does it stand a chance of getting through?
I think it stands a very good chance of getting through. The Conservative MPs have been asking for this to be brought forward now for months and months. I guess the various changes of Prime Minister delayed things a little, but we're heading to our new winter of discontent, and something's got to happen to ensure services keep operating.
But it would have to happen really fast, wouldn't it, for it to actually avoid a winter of discontent?
It certainly would, and they've delayed this far too long, really. There are means of, the term is guillotining debate. It's basically cutting debate and rushing through legislation in the Commons. So it's possible to do, but it's not just going to be this December that these strikes are going on. It's going to be months and months. So they've got to get something in place to tackle them, essentially.
What are we to make of all the military being put on standby? I mean, it says they're all being trained up to drive an ambulance. Well, it doesn't take much training, let's be honest. These guys and girls know what they're doing anyway. But is it going to make a significant difference having the army on standby and, in fact, all the armed forces on standby?
Usually that's a kind of sign of the seriousness of the situation. I think, in particular, the loss of firefighters potentially. You just need people there to, ensure that fires can be fought and that lives can be saved. It's quite a serious point. We're talking about not just ambulance drivers. We're talking about nurses going on strike as well. This is going to impact people's lives quite significantly. And so, the government's got to be ready. In fact, really, the big criticism is that it's taking them so long to kind of get these measures in place.
Meanwhile, if you look to Labour at the moment, there are reports that David Miliband is being sort of chatted up, encouraged to think of coming back and joining the political fray as soon as possible. And it is said that he hasn't ruled it out. Interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is. I kind of feel like at various points since 2010, 12 years, almost 13 years ago now, I've been hearing David Miliband coming back from over the sea to rescue the Labour Party stories ever since he failed to win the leadership against his brother. I think it does reflect, though, a lot of doubts about the top of the party. Particularly about Keir Starmer. Labour are well ahead in the polls, but Starmer himself is still seen as very flat, very boring, really very uncharismatic. And there's a lot of people looking around for alternatives. And Miliband is an obvious one in many ways. He's got ideas, he's charismatic, he's certainly got leadership qualities. And it would be interesting to see if this time it's actually true.
OK, David, good to see you this morning.
Put the wind up the Tories.
Well, it will. Well, mind you, put the wind up, David.
Ed Miliband.
Ed Miliband and Keir Starmer.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. They must know talks are going on, though. I mean, he's always been lurking in the background somewhere, even though he's been on the other side of the world. Well, he's on the other side of the pond, managing international rescue.
Yes. Anyway, let us know what you think about that one. Now, did you watch the boxing last night?
No.
Well, it was a cracker.
Was it?
Of course, the Gypsy King won. Of course he did. Took it right through 10 rounds, though, so it was quite a feat at Tottenham Hotspur last night against Derek Chisora. Well, we were chatting yesterday in the run-up to all this with the only person you want to talk about when it comes to boxing, Gareth A. Davis. Joins us now for a bit of post-match analysis. Good to see you. What did you make of it? Because, I mean, although you were quite right that Tyson won, Chisora almost had quite a bright start in the first couple of rounds, didn't he?
He did indeed. Morning, Stephen. Morning, Anne. He did indeed. It was a very interesting fight, dominated by Tyson Fury. It was a kind of lopsided decision. There's levels in this game, and Fury showed all his fighting IQ and his wizardry. Yes, Derek Chisora did have a bright start, walking Fury down, but it didn't take long for the Gypsy King to get the measure of Derek Chisora. He dominated from the mid-range and he nullified and clinched close in. There you can see in one of those pictures that there he is. He kind of just made sure that Chisora couldn't work on his chest, as we call it. It should have been stopped before it was. Like you said, it went on into the 10th round. That was about 2 or 3 rounds in, or 4 rounds in, when Derek Chisora was getting beaten up in the neutral corner. Said, "Come on then, Tyson, give it to me." It should have been stopped mercifully, really, by Chisora's corner, probably around the 7th or 8th round. I think I was saying to you yesterday, I thought it would go 6, 7, 8 rounds. But for some reason, Chisora's corner let him go on. And really, mercifully, referee Victor Loughlin stepped in the 10th round to say, enough. I don't want to see any more of this. Derek had taken a lot of punishment by then, Stephen.
I mean, it almost looked to me like round 3, really, it was decided by round 3, and Tyson Fury looked like he was showboating, really.
There was an element of that. I spoke to John Fury, Big Gypsy John Fury, as he was known when he fought Tyson's dad afterwards, and he said that Tyson is not a man to put his foot on a man's neck when they're down, and he perhaps had been not wanting to finish Derek in those last kind of 3 or 4 rounds of the fight. Didn't want to overly hurt him or knock him out. Like you say, after 3 rounds, Derek Chisora's legs were wobbly. He was getting cuffed by left hooks by Fury and right uppercuts, and it looked like he'd gone. But Derek's a very brave man. A lot of boxers are often too brave for their own good, and he got into a kind of focused zombie-like state, and he wasn't going to go anyway. He wasn't going to go down, and because Fury was enjoying getting the rounds in, it probably went on a little bit too long. And Derek's 39 next year. He earned over 3 million last night. Tyson Fury, I believe, over 20 million. But I don't think Derek will box again, if you're going to ask me, if that's it for him now. I don't think he'll go on after last night.
No. Well, mind you, just very briefly, because we're out of time, obviously Tyson is, eyeing up Usyk straight after the match last night. No messing about. I'm going to finish you little sausage.
Listen, it's better than many other words that Tyson Fury has used for people in the past. I was in the ring at that moment, just behind him, in fact, when that triangle occurred in a neutral corner where he spoke to Alexander Usyk. And said, we're on for the undisputed title. Obviously, Fury's the WBC champion, Usyk's the IBF, WBO and WBA champion. Joe Joyce was there as well, by the way, who's also promoted by Frank Warren, and I expect Tyson Fury to fight both of those men next year. But Anthony Joshua at the moment, whose name we're not talking about, I think out of the picture.
Yeah, OK. Gareth A. Davis, always a pleasure. Thanks very much indeed. Great to see you.
Cheers.
Gosh.
Oh, you see, it gets me in a devil going.
I can't imagine that you would be that interested in boxing.
I don't know. Everyone's got a safety valve, haven't they? A pressure valve. And I couldn't fight anyone to save my life, but it's interesting to watch.
Watching it, gosh.
There you go. Anyway, much more to come. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be looking at the St Edward's crown being resized for Anne Diamond.
Nice bit of stuff.
Yeah.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions. I have no time for cultural totalitarianism. We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. Clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
"8:28, very good morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Now, despite facing the backlash for Lady Susan Hussey's comments, it seems that it's still business as usual for the royal family, because the St Edward's crown has been removed from the Tower of London to be resized, of course, for the coronation.
Yes, well, it's got to be, hasn't it? It's got to fit. Let's talk to former royal correspondent Michael Cole for all the details on, everything royal. There's lots to talk about this morning, Michael. Let's talk crown first and foremost, because it's actually going to be quite a job to... I mean, I know it was done for the Queen before her coronation, but it's quite a job to resize something like that, isn't it?
Absolutely. Of course, 150 days only to the coronation today. These preparations are all going ahead. The St Edmund crown is obviously at the Crown Jewellers to be adjusted so that it fits Charles's head when he becomes king. Now, this crown is quite interesting. It's used only once in every reign. It weighs...
Oh.
By St Edmund the Confessor. So that's how far it goes back. It was first worn by Charles II at his coronation, the Merry Monarch. And before her coronation, June the 2nd, 1953, and I do remember it, the Queen walked around the palace, obviously in her day clothes, getting used to it, because it is quite a technique to keep it steady and straight when you're trying to keep a straight face at the same time while your breast is being anointed with oils and you're holding the scepter and the orb. So big stuff ahead. And this is a tangible sign that we're getting geared up for the coronation on May the 6th, I think. Yes, that's right. We'll all be there, you and me, and all together.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt we're looking forward to it, and the King must be anticipating it. I imagine he'll be having to do the same thing, because once it has been sized to fit his head, he's going to have to walk up and down goodness knows how many times just to get used to the feel of it, because the Queen actually said once that it's incredibly heavy, and if you get it wrong, you could break your neck.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. And of course, it has to be placed properly, or else it's, imagine it being so uncomfortable. It's like you, Anne, going to Ascot and getting your hat on right. Once you've got your hat on right and you've got your hat pin in, you feel happy and you're ready to lay £50 out on the winner of the first race, aren't you? So if you get the small things right, everything else will come right.
Meanwhile, there's a huge weight on their shoulders, isn't there? Particularly, it is said of Charles and Camilla, they are weary, really weary at the sort of feeling of being attacked so much and so often by Harry and Meghan.
Absolutely. I mean, 3 months into the new reign, we can hardly say it's been trouble-free. They've had to endure 10 parts from Netflix, the Series 5 of The Crown, and now we're going to get a 6-part bombardment from Grievance Incorporated, the Sussex branch, that is, in California, sniping from their hilltop fortress inside this gated community. And of course, this new Netflix series is going to be 6 parts, as I said. We don't know yet whether it's all going to be all sizzle and no sausage. We'll have to see what they're going to say. Netflix have invested millions in brand Sussex, Meghan and Harry, and they'll be wanting to have a return on that huge investment. And if people tune in and it's just another lot of we're right and they're wrong, I think people might get weary of this. But on a more serious tone, Anne and Simon, this is also trivial, whether it was Meghan who made Kate cry or Kate who made Meghan cry over a row about whether the bridesmaids at Meghan's wedding should wear tights or they should not wear tights. I mean, in this world, 2 time zones away from where we are sitting at the moment, there's a terrible war going on and people don't know whether they're going to live or die tomorrow, and people are being murdered and raped. In this country, people are scared to turn on the heating. They're sitting there in the cold because they don't think they can pay the gas bill. People are wondering how they're going to get through this winter. And if they have got a job, can they get to work because of the strikes and the eco-anarchists stopping the traffic? These are real world problems. And to have this going on, quite frankly, if people cannot respect themselves within their own royal family, I think the question will arise, why should we respect them? And I think that's something that ought to be worrying people. And I'm quite sure the Queen Consort and the King Charles, are concerned about that, because it isn't a very good look, is it?
At what point, Michael, do you need to rip off the plaster with this one? And so, you see, because you say Netflix is invested in brand Sussex, well, it's about, isn't it time to remove Sussex from them?
You know, you make a fantastically good point. I mean, Diana only had to get divorced from Prince Charles, as he then was, and she immediately lost her HRH honorific title. The Duchess of Windsor was never given one. She was pointedly refused one, which rankled with the Duke of Windsor all his life. I think a lot will depend upon Prince Harry's book called Spare, which is due to be published in January. By the way, my wife noticed in Woodbridge a couple of days ago that it was on sale or pre-ordered at WH Smith on half price already. So it depends how many skeletons in the royal cupboard are shaken up by this book. But I think it's entirely possible that the king will say enough is enough and remove the titles HRH from them, which he's perfectly entitled to do. Now, this may seem also trivial, but that is big medicine in royal circles where things like this matter very deeply. And it would be a sign of disapproval. And my goodness, one can't say that the royal family has not been provoked.
Certainly, it's been very difficult times for them as well, given what happened at the palace the other day with this Lady Susan Hussey, who's been a lady-in-waiting for the Queen for years and years and years, and much trusted and much loved figure, and also, of course, godmother to William. And an awful lot of commentators are sort of saying, we just can't understand it. She wouldn't have done something like that. She certainly wouldn't have meant to cause this sort of row. You've watched her over the years, haven't you?
Yes, I've known her. I've seen her. There's not a malicious bone in her body. Of course, what happened here, Anne, was not a recorded interview. What appeared was not a transcript of a recorded conversation. It was one woman's recollection of what was said, and then was immediately posted. Doing her duty, as she always did, Lady Susan Hussey immediately apologised and resigned. But I can't help feeling that we're moving into Salem witch trial territory. Racism is the big no-no of the age. And instead of small girls running around in 17th century Massachusetts saying, she's a witch, she's a witch, she's a witch, and then hanging that person or pressing them to death with stones pasted on their chest, which is what happened and is recorded in Arthur Miller's play, The Crucible. Now, all you have to say is, she's a racist, and she's then denounced on social media and has to resign. Well, racism is an easy charge to make, but it's almost impossible to refute, because how do you prove a negative? And I think there is something pernicious about that. We don't know what was said because it wasn't recorded, and a lot depends upon tone of voice. Was she being facetious? Was she being friendly? Was she being condescending? We don't know. On the page, it looks horrible and inexcusable if it came out like that. But we don't know, because it's only one side of the question. And I feel very sorry for Susan Hussey. She's 83. She's a widow. I'm quite sure she didn't mean any offence. And there we see the lady who complained. And she was dressed in quite exotic African-style dress. And I can quite imagine everybody was wearing name tags, and that's how that woman Mrs. Fulani there knew it was Lady Susan Hussey, and I can quite imagine Lady Susan looking at her exotic name and saying, "Oh, really? You know, what are your origins?" Well, are people so offended by that? Because if you can't actually have a discussion and everything is reduced to pleasantries, anodyne pleasantries, well, it's not going to make for a very interesting discourse between human beings, is it? Perhaps Lady Susan should have learned a little bit about from the Queen, who she sat with, as you said, more than 50 years service she gave. And it's worth saying it was an honorary position. She was never paid a penny for all the work she did. But the Queen, of course, when she met people, would often say, "Have you come far?" Well, of course, nobody can object to that, and it can lead on. And in those conversations, it was often Lady Susan who was smoothing the path, making people feel comfortable, enjoying, so they enjoyed their moment within the royal orbit. And I feel sorry for her because the rest of her life is going to have a cloud over it because of this incident. And of course, she will understand completely that her godson, Prince William, had to put distance between himself and her because, as I said, racism is the big no-no, and it has to be cut out. Of course it's a cancer. Of course it's unacceptable. But is it also unacceptable to go around denouncing people without evidence and ruining their lives?
Michael, on that, we must leave it. Good to see you this morning, though. Thank you very much indeed. Whatever your view on that, can I recommend, I was telling you this morning, wasn't I? I saw on Twitter last night, because we clip up, as you know, on the at GB News on Twitter, we clip up a lot of bits and bobs. Nana Akua last night on her show gave a very interesting monologue on that. Something she could say that we couldn't, I think, really. It's worth a watch.
I didn't see that. I've watched that.
Whether you agree with what she says or not, it's worth a watch. So check that out on Twitter.
And interestingly, Charles and Camilla have invited Mrs. Fulani to Buckingham Palace to talk it through. And I think that's the right thing to do, isn't it? To try and smooth over troubled waters in some way. Whatever offence was rightly or wrongly made, it's good that they talk.
Well, let us know what you think. GBViews at gbnews.uk. Much more to come, including the papers, in just a few minutes.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you know, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons? I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel. My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here. You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us. We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512,
Virgin Media Channel 604,
Freesat Channel 216,
Freeview Channel 236,
and YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio,
with the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Time to go through the papers. Claire Muldoon and David Hamilton are here. Good to see you both. David, it's Thursday night.
It's number one. It's Top of the Pops.
Way!
But not at Christmas. No. I think it's budget cuts. That's the reason. But this Christmas, no Queen's speech, no Top of the Pops. What are we going to do? We'll have to rely on the old porridge film to keep us which comes back every year to keep us entertained. Yeah. But with no Top of the Pops, we won't know who is number one, whether it's Cliff Richard or Stormzy.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was already Stormzy doing better.
Huh?
I thought Stormzy was already leading.
Well, he might
Stormzy
be at the minute.
is in front at the moment, but Cliff is determined that he's going to have another Christmas album at number one.
I haven't heard his latest.
Nor have I.
Is it a new one, or has he recycled an old one?
I don't know. Does he still do calendars?
Yes.
Oh, I think he does.
Yes. Cliff calendars are huge.
I think a lot of people will miss Top of the Pops, don't you, at Christmas time?
Yes.
I mean, in the days when I did it, it was an institution, and, you know, whole families would sit around the television because the music in those days went across the board. What appealed to children appealed to their parents and even grandparents as well. I think it was dropped because the singles chart was no longer a major barometer of what was happening, you know.
Yeah.
But a terrific brand name.
But they've also done a Christmas special, which they've now cut. So it's not even this Christmas. There may not be a Queen's speech, but there will be a King's speech.
There will be a King's speech, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TOTP, you say, yeah. It was
iconic logo as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, Thursday nights. It was Thursday. I always think Thursday nights.
Absolute essential viewing, wasn't it? And audiences were something like 12 or 15 million. But the BBC was very careful with its money in those days. And the most I ever got for hosting Top of the Pops was 90 quid.
But that was quite a lot in those days, it surely.
Well, not really.
No, because he went round the corner to open a supermarket.
I did. Well, what I did afterwards, I used to do a pub in the old Kent Road where I got about 3 times as much money for working to 200 people.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, the show gave you the shop window. But
I tell you what, because I remember those days as well when I worked at the BBC, on a Thursday night, because it was live, there would be a queue all the way around Television Centre, right down the road towards White City, of people who'd got tickets and were just waiting to get in.
Well, tickets for Top of the Pops were like gold dust. I mean, you just couldn't get them, and people almost fighting to be there in the studio.
It was iconic.
The other thing was it was a very small studio with clever shooting and clever direction. It looked much bigger. So you'd have about 100 kids who one minute would be looking at David Essex on one set over here, and then they'd be herded over to another set where they'd be looking at Rod Stewart, you know, so they sort of...
And mega names, just as you've mentioned.
Oh,
huge big names on the same show live.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exciting. I feel excited just thinking about it.
They don't make television like that anymore.
They don't. From that to something serious in The Sun on Sunday, road safety, Claire.
Yeah, well, the Christmas period is coming up. We're in the middle of it now. Loads of people have got the trees up, etc. Everyone's talking about Christmas cards, Royal Mail strike. Will we get them there? All the other strikes. But this is a very, very serious story. 1 in 8 over the limit at the wheel have been found, actually. A Christmas road safety campaign found 1 in 8 drivers were either drunk or high in its first week, and that is absolutely shocking. It's a shocking indictment to think that people are getting behind the wheel of a car that can cause so much damage potentially to pedestrians, cyclists and other road users as well, that they're actually doing it. How can anyone be so stupid and selfish as to do that? And I'm not only talking about those that are going out for a Christmas night out, taking the car and then drink driving. It's the morning after as well. It's still in people's systems. We can breathalyse now, which is great, I think, for drugs in the system, as well as alcohol in the system. We've now heard, there's a report in one of the papers today, there's actually a saliva test to find out if you're pregnant. So with the increase in testing now, it can only be a good thing. And, you know, the flip side of these statistics are that these people, the 1 in 8, are being caught before they have done any damage. You know, that's the other thing. But, you know, please, everyone, take care of what you're doing over this festive period, and please just get a taxi.
Yeah, we've only got about 30 seconds, David. Should we have a dad joke?
Tell us a dad joke.
Yes, well, according to the Sunday edition of the Daily Star, dad jokes really are funny. And so this is a survey. I don't think it was in this country. I think it was in Illinois. But anyway, would you like a couple of dad jokes?
Please go on.
Oh, OK. My wife suggested I wash my car with our son. I said, surely a sponge would be better.
Yeah, that really is.
Here's one. I don't know whether you get this one or not, but my friend suggested that I stop singing Wonderwall, and I said maybe.
Oh,
you get that?
Yes, very good.
One more.
Go on, one more. Can't resist.
Here's one you can answer. Where do you weigh a whale?
Oh, no.
A
railway station. They're Christmas cracker jokes, aren't they?
Or worse. Yes.
Brilliant stuff. David, Claire.
It's the way you tell them.
It's the way you tell them. Oh, dear. That makes me feel all nostalgic.
We'll have to do that next weekend. Awful Christmas cracker jokes, won't we?
Oh, yeah. But I used to like those curly fish, plastic fish you put on your hand.
You can still get those.
Can you?
Yeah.
I used to love those.
Now, let me tell you about this. A 65-tonne tank that last saw service during the Cold War is being renovated ahead of the King's coronation next year.
A team of volunteers from the Royal Lancers and the Nottinghamshire Yeomanry Museum at Thoresby are scraping years of rust from the Conqueror in an effort to save the machine for future generations. So we sent Will Hollis along for the ride.
As restorations go, they don't get much bigger than this.
This bin's particularly bad. As you can see, the whole thing's rotted away, so that's going to take a lot more work than the other one, which has only got patchwork on it.
At 65 tonnes, the Conqueror is quite the gate guardian at Thoresby. When the Military Museum in Nottinghamshire asked for volunteers to fix its new tank, it was an easy yes for Army veteran Gus.
I left in '93, and this is the first chance I've had to work on a tank again, and it's like coming home. It's really good. We're loving it because all the lads, they all know what they're doing, and they've all got specific jobs, and we just kind of help each other out to get the thing back up to scratch.
The Conqueror is covered in rust and has more than a few holes to fill, which is where restoration expert Dave, who runs a paint business, takes lead.
What we've got here are all the bazooka plates from the side of the tank, and they are basically blast shields to prevent them being bazookas going and blowing the tracks off. I'm taking these away today to be restored at our workshops in Retford.
Surrey, the first public demonstration of Britain's new armoured giant, the mighty Conqueror, the 65-tonne tank that packs a punch to match its size.
The Conqueror is one of the biggest tanks ever used by the British Army. Only 180 or so were built. They were mainly used to defend West Germany during the Cold War. This one here, it's in desperate need of repair, and that's why it's been brought here to the Military Museum at Thoresby. The Lancers Museum honours the long service Nottinghamshire has given to the British Army, from the early days of light cavalry to the tank regiments that we see today. Bringing the Conqueror here helps to complete the museum, which opened in 2011. But the connection Thoresby Park has with tanks goes back much further.
We're not going to elevate that gun anytime soon, are we?
Former Lancer Captain Mick is the museum's curator.
Thoresby in World War II used to have a tank training area, and this is the first tank to be back at Thoresby Courtyard in over 80 years. So I think that is a really good advertisement for Thoresby.
Most of the men here served in the 17th and 21st Lancers, including Rob. This year, the regiment celebrates the centenary of its formation. Rob says projects like this help veterans stay connected to their history and each other.
When I was leaving school, I had a choice, either go down the pit in a factory or follow what my heart said, which was to be a soldier. We have a saying in the forces, you either come out of the forces as a civilian or you come out with half a green brain, which means that you've still got something there for the forces.
The museum hopes that visitors will help to meet the £10,000 cost of fixing the tank so it can be ready for King Charles's coronation in May next year. And after that, the small piece of history will become a big part of this museum's future. Will Hollis for GB News in Thoresby.
I love that.
I love the dedication that goes into restoring things like that. I can't say I'm a great fan of tanks particularly, but I know there are people who are. Military vehicles in general.
Oh, they're phenomenal, aren't they? I mean, they're huge
military vehicle shows all over the country and everything.
Yeah. Oh, I love all that sort of stuff. Love all of that, and they're just absolutely phenomenal.
But
the work put in for that.
That really is. Well done, chaps.
Yes, quite right. I love this from Laurie. Morning, Laurie. It says, our Christmas starts on the 24th when the table is laid and all the veg are prepared. On Christmas morning, we get a phone call at 7 o'clock from our grandsons to tell us he's been. Well, hopefully he's been. Yeah. Then we get a 2-minute walk to our son's house, Christmas music playing, grandsons sit at the top of the stairs till we arrive. Then it all kicks off until 4 p.m. when we switch to birthday mode for our youngest grandson.
A lot of families having to do that,
That
I think.
sounds heavenly.
I love the idea of the children ringing up saying, he's been.
Love it.
He's been.
Love it. Hope he comes for me this year. Anyway, much more to come for you in a couple of minutes. First, here's your weather. But looking ahead to today's weather in the UK is going to be fairly grey for many, chilly in a brisk easterly breeze. These are the details then.
Areas in the far southwest of England may see the odd brighter spell, but the cloud will make it a grey day for most. Showers will also fringe southern coasts of Cornwall.
Like much of the UK, southeast England will experience a keen breeze today. It's going to make it feel closer to about 2 degrees when you go outside. A little bit of light rain is possible as well for southern Wales, and this may include a small amount of sleet over the mountains.
Then central areas of England will tend to stay drier, but there'll still be a large amount of cloud around, making it a rather dull second half of the weekend for many.
It's eastern coasts that are going to see the most frequent showers. The occasional one may be heavy, actually. They'll feed inland on the brisk breeze, so don't go out without an umbrella.
Hold on to it fast. The showers and cloud will also push into eastern Scotland. However, northwest Scotland will likely see the brightest skies across the UK, thanks to the development of some sunny intervals.
Western counties of Northern Ireland are also in with a chance of seeing some sunny spells today, but eastern coast affected by scattered showers from the Irish Sea.
And we'll retain a very similar setup throughout this afternoon and evening with further showers in the east, and that's how your weather is looking today.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236. And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB Plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions. I have no time for cultural totalitarianism. We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
England prepare to face Senegal tonight in their first knockout game of the World Cup.
Good morning to you. It's 9 o'clock. It's Sunday, the 4th of December. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne. These are your top stories today.
The Three Lions are going to come face-to-face with African champions Senegal tonight for the second leg of their World Cup journey. If successful, Gareth Southgate's squad will be through to the quarter-finals.
Either where they'll face either France or Poland. It's the Three Lions against the Teranga Lions coming up. We'll have all the details live from Doha.
Also this morning, sorting out the strikes. Rishi Sunak will set out plans to bring an end to the winter walkout. The Prime Minister has put the Cabinet Office Minister Oliver Dowden in charge of preparing contingency plans. We're going to be talking to Conservative Party Chairman Nadeem Zahawi very shortly.
And the King's coronation plans swing into action. As the St Edward's crown is removed from the Tower of London to be resized, we'll be looking at its history and how they're going to change it for the new King.
And we'd love to hear from you, as always, this morning. So many of you getting through on the email today. So we'll go through those a little bit later on. GB Views at gbnews.uk if you want to join in. So, it's got to say, it's all about the football, and from two football cynics, even we're getting caught up in the football fever.
Yeah, I can't help but be a bit excited and very hopeful.
Yeah.
Because England are facing their toughest test yet. They face Senegal tonight for a place in the quarter-finals, and it's not going to be a walkover. It's the first meeting between the two nations, and the winner will then meet the reigning champions, France or Poland, in the next round.
Well, the England manager, Gareth Southgate, had high praise for tonight's opponents and said England, though, are ready for the challenge.
I think Ali has done a fantastic job. They were very unlucky not to qualify from the group in Russia, and you know, they've deservedly done it this time. So we know exactly the size of the task ahead of us. Well, it's a good position to be in. You want your players in confident mood, and our forward players are. Of course, you want to try to make the best possible decision, but in some respects, I'm not sure there's a right or a wrong.
Well, for more on tonight's game, let's head over to Qatar, should we? And Paul Hawkins, who's there for us. I mean, it's always so busy behind you, Paul. Is there a sense of excitement building now ahead of this?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, in the past sort of hour or so, we've seen a lot more England fans entering the Souk Waqif, which is the main marketplace in Doha. And if you have a look over here, this particular set of England fans are getting a lot of attention. A lot of people wanting to have their photos taken with them. I can't imagine why, if I'm honest. Guys, how are you?
Very well, sir. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks for agreeing to speak to us. First of all, how are you feeling about tonight's game?
Oh, very positive, very positive. We've got a game plan. I've sussed it out. I've been looking at Senegal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to play the ball on the floor,
Yeah.
so their big men can't come and head it out of the way then.
Right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's my game plan.
That's your game plan, is it? I haven't heard that one. Yeah. How are you feeling, sir?
Reasonably confident. I think we've got a strong team. We've got professionals. They're focused, they're positive, and I think this year it might just be coming home.
Oh, don't say that. So is it coming home, or are we going home?
No, it's coming home. We're not going home till Christmas. I'm telling you. Don't tell the wife, though.
Because Senegal were a decent side.
They are a good
and they're
team.
better than Wales, Iran, or the USA.
Yeah, they're better than Scotland.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, I thought America were quite a good team, actually. I thought they had a good game last night. They were lucky.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah. How you feeling, man?
Well, Senegal are fast. I've seen them. We watched them as they qualified. We were in Spain and watched them. We can do it. We've got it.
Yeah, because a lot of the Senegal players, I think the captain, Koulibaly, plays for Chelsea, keeper plays for Chelsea.
Yeah.
A lot of their players know our players, even though the two sides have never met.
I think that's the same with most of the teams. A lot of them play in the Bundesliga or they play in the Premiership, don't they? So they all know each other.
Yeah.
But I think we've got the strongest team. I think Harry Kane will score a couple. Kelvin Phillips, ex-Leeds player, what a player!
Very good player.
Absolutely
Well, he's not been
fantastic.
playing a lot recently.
No, but he put that ball in for the third goal.
Yeah.
50-yard ball. Absolutely fantastic. Can't wait for it.
And you got your six-pack out for the event as well.
Yeah, I've been to the gym
Loving that. Look at that. You've been working out a treat there.
Since I've been here.
Yeah.
I've gone the other way.
Yeah. Are you loving your semi-celebrity status at the moment? Because people keep stopping to have their pictures taken.
It's entertaining, and we're here to entertain and be entertained.
You're going to need your lights are fake. You're going to need some batteries, I think, for that. For the, are those the Christmas lights? Are you taking them off the tree?
Light, yes.
I think you have, haven't you? And this suit, where'd you get this suit from? Is this Savile Row?
No, I got it
Don't
from
mention that name because we need some image rights there.
Don't tell the wife, I think we're too expensive.
You were too expensive. You look fantastic, I have to say, and you look great as well. I'm loving the antlers. What do we call
Billy Boppers.
Billy Boppers. Okay, yeah. So score prediction, guys.
I think it's going to be 3-1 to England. I think we'll let them have a consolation goal in the last minute, just so we can send them home with a smile on their faces.
2-0.
2-1.
2-1. Wow. Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Okay.
Really good to speak to you.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you. There you go. So there's an idea of how the England fans are feeling today. We have spoken to other fans who are feeling a little bit more, should we say, cautious, given the way England have been kind of inconsistent when they've been playing the USA, Wales and Iran. But it's going to be fascinating to watch this evening. And before that, we'll know who the winner of England-Senegal play when France take on Poland.
Okay, Paul, thank you very much
I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be nail-bitingly close, but I hope it doesn't go to penalties because I can't bear penalties. Because penalties never seem a very fair way of deciding a match, really.
Well, no, what could you do?
Well, I
It's
know it
knockout.
can't go on forever, can it? But
No. It looked like he was interviewing madness there, didn't it? They looked like they were
I thought
madness.
they both looked as though, yes, madness, or they're both trying to be Elton John. There's a bit of that, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're going to go all that way to watch a football match, then enjoy yourself doing it.
Yeah, you may as well, mightn't you? Now, of course, we don't need to tell you that only one English side has ever won silverware, and their legend is as iconic now as it was 56 years ago.
And I even remember it. Isn't that terrible? But my best friend's father was an umpire. He was just a football umpire, and so a football ref, rather. And so he was terribly keen on football, so they got our part of the town's first colour television just for 1966.
Wow.
And hey presto, it worked, didn't it? We won.
It worked.
Yeah. To help us look back on the 1966 World Cup is the England team photographer, Derek Catani. Hello, Derek. Very good morning.
Good morning, Anne. Good morning, Stephen. Great to be on your programme. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, it's great to talk to you because, I mean, you've been there and you've seen some of our footballers at their very best. Where were you during that World Cup?
Well, I was actually on the pitch, and so I was part of the photographers. I was just doing my job on the pitch with the rest of them. Yeah.
I mean, did you ever think? I mean, I guess at that point, you know, at the end of the match, people just thought, well, you know, we'll keep winning. This is a sign of things to come. You probably didn't realise that those images would become so iconic because it would become such a wait until we ever won anything again.
Absolutely. I mean, I think back in those days, the way in which the teams got together and especially the coaching side with Alf Ramsey, it was a different way in which they interpreted the game as it is now. And I think being able to be on the pitch, see them play the game that they were being taught to play by Alf with the weeks and months that led up to it was great to actually experience, because I had first-hand information and knowledge about how they were going to play various bits and pieces on the ground. So I had an advantage. Being the FA photographer at the time, I was able to go along to the training sessions. Oh gosh, that's me.
Wow.
Age of 19. Anyway, yes. I mean, I started with the Football Association in 1964, straight out of school, Holland Park School, and I was a film librarian, and that was my main job at the FA. Although they did give me a camera to use, and my special course at school was photography, and that's the reason why I went along to the FA, and it was a good starting point for me in those days. So I had this big film library and 16mm films, which the BBC would have to give to the FA of all their previous matches at Wembley. And so it was my responsibility to make sure that all the films were in good order. And I had a splicing machine, which was a little editing machine that you put your reels on, and then you put the film through a little monitor and you could see what was happening. And all of a sudden one day, Alf Ramsey, who had an office next to mine, popped his head round the door and said, "Oh, morning, Derek. What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I told him what I was doing." And he said, "My, that's very interesting." He said, "Do you have last week's England-Hungary game, the friendly?" And I went, "Yes, it's just come in." And he said, "That's interesting. Could you pick out the corners and the free kicks and the 2 goals we scored and put them all together as one little reel?" And I went, "That's interesting. Yeah, I'll give it a go. And it'll take me most of the day, obviously, to run through 90 minutes and see what was going." I said, "No problem, no time. Just, you know, I'll see you in a couple of days' time." So I did all this for him, and a couple of days later, he said, "Have you got the film ready?" And I went, "Yep, it's all okay." So he said, well, jump on the England coach with us and bring your projector. We're going to the Bank of England, Roehampton training ground. And in the coaching room, you can set up your projector. And so I did. And then in the morning, they would be doing all their training on the ground. And we had a bit of lunch together. I was just one of the team, really. I mean, I knew all the boys by first name, and they knew me, and we just got on really, really well. There was no prima donnas in those days. We were just a great group of guys who had a big job to do. So anyway, after lunch, they all bundled into the coaching room. I'd turn on the projector, would see maybe 90 minutes of the whole football, and then Alf would say, right, can you pop on the little reel? And so I popped on the little reel, then we ran through, say, a corner, and then I was able to stop the projector very briefly before the celluloid was burnt through by the bulb. And it showed, say, Bobby Moore or whoever taking the free kick. And Alf would say, now, Jimmy, I would have liked to have seen you a little bit further in towards the goalpost. And Alan, you should have been running in a bit quicker as Bobby was running up, and all that sort of thing. It was a great coaching way of showing a team, probably for the first time ever, what they were doing or doing right or wrong on the pitch. And so for Alf, it was a great innovation. It was amazing. So I did this a few more times over the weeks that ran up to the World Cup. And so by that time, I was up at Lillishall Hall, locked away with the boys for like 2 weeks, whilst they went on their final training session. And it was wonderful, because I was just in the morning I would be taking photographs and kicking the odd ball around with them. As long as I didn't tackle them, Alf said, you can have a bit of a play. So and then in the afternoons I would be showing films and all that sort of thing. One of the wonderful
job.
Sorry.
A dream job, but also a dream job in a dream year.
Yeah.
Absolutely astonishing.
It was a dream job in a dream year. Yeah, I was able to. You just got on with it and enjoyed what you were doing. For me, I don't know why, but there was no sort of real big wow factor about it. It was just a great job with a great team of guys.
Oh, yes.
And what made me, of course, was as a photographer, which I always wanted to be, was that one day, about 3 or 4 weeks before we went to Lillishall, I was showing the boys this particular film, and then Alf said, "Okay, that's great." And inadvertently, I made the projector run backwards with the light still on, so you could see all the team running backwards, and they were absolutely in hoots of laughter on the floor. And so I quickly ran around the side of the projector screen and took a quick picture, and that's pretty well my famous picture of the England team laughing at themselves, which the Daily Mail then published on the back page. So for me, that was a start of my photography career, and luckily for me, the Daily Mail never forgot that, and and that was the start of my Fleet Street photography. So that was a great.
Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely fabulous,
Yeah.
Derek. It's fantastic to talk to you, and thank you so much for sharing that.
Can I just say thanks very much to GB News and obviously Saga and the Saga campaign for giving me the opportunity to share my memories of the World Cup. It's always been a fascination to me to have people in awe about what I did and how I did it, and for me it was just wonderful, wonderful memories. I'm delighted that I can share it with you and the GB News audience around the world. So thanks very much.
And they are watching you from all over the world as well.
It's our pleasure, Derek. Thank
Absolutely
you so
lovely.
much.
Thank you very much. And every one of those names you just peppered in, all of them legendary names.
Legends. What a story for a kid as well at the time. Wow. Anyway, let's see what our Yorkshire reporter, Anna Riley, has been up to this morning, because she's been dealing with some younger fans who are getting ready for the big match tonight.
morning. Hello there. Yes, we are at Castleford at the moment. We're at Ferry Fryston AFC Sundays, and I'm delighted to be joined by Lily, a football player, and her dad Liam. He's the chairman here. Liam, we're talking all things World Cup this morning. Obviously, we've got that big game, England-Senegal, this evening. What's it been like for grassroots football, and how are you feeling about the World Cup?
So we're Fryston Sundays. We've got 2 other open age sides. Obviously voluntary, we've got the volunteers out marking the pitch. Obviously World Cup fever, a bit of a strange time with it being obviously Christmas time. Obviously this World Cup's been so different to like so many others, obviously with the backstories, with obviously human rights, but not to take away, this World Cup already has been fantastic, the results. So many shock teams going out, Germans, Belgians. But for the lads, obviously everyone thinks they're an England manager in WhatsApp groups. We've had like sweepstakes, so everyone's like backing a random team. You see one lad's cheering for Morocco because he's got a chance to win some money on it. But yeah, there's been some real good fever about it. One of the lads were Welsh, so WhatsApp group he got a lot of hammer. Sorry, Gossie. But yeah, no, it's been really good to see, and guys wanting to come here and obviously put a performance on a Sunday, maybe replicate one of some England players. But no, it's been good. I mean, grassroots is so important, for English football. We've been around for a long time. We're massive advocates for men's mental health. Sadly, one of our players, Liam, he sadly took his own life. We recently had a charity function, raised over £2,500 for Andy's Man Club and Mind. So we're always wanting to push that. The club's big since I've been involved. We've wanted to get my daughter, all the lads' children are turning up, their partners. We're really trying to bring a big family feel to it. And these working men's clubs are a bit of a dying art, so to have them still around as a community hub for people to go on a Sunday morning, have a pint after football, after running about, which is probably going to look like mud and rain, which is not going to be fun. But the World Cup, yeah, it's exciting. Fingers crossed it's going to come home. So let's hope. We just need Harry Kane to start scoring goals now.
That's it, we'll see. And Lily, you love football, you're a player yourself. What do you like so much about the game, and what have you been enjoying about the World Cup?
It's fun to play football with my friends, and when I want to be a professional footballer when I'm older, playing for Man U or England Lionesses. And for World Cup, I think it's going to be 2-1, but Senegal are a tough team against us, so I think it's going to be a tough game, and I'm really a bit scared because it's just Senegal, just a tough team up there.
Well, fingers crossed we'll get a win this evening. So, yeah, that's a prediction of 2-1 we've got there for this game this evening. And Hull C, the kick-off's at 10:30 this morning for the football game, so we'll see how Liam's side does.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Anna, thank you ever so much.
Tell you what, these youngsters we've been meeting this morning, they don't just love the game of football, they know their stuff about the tactics and about the different teams and everything. They've really bought into it big time.
Yeah, they have. They know a lot, but not many people know what it's like to manage a side at the World Cup finals. Even fewer know what it's like to be England manager.
Yeah, well, we're delighted to welcome someone right now who's done both. Former England manager Sven-Göran Eriksson. And a very good morning. Lovely to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, as ever. So what's your prediction for tonight? And what are your worries as an England manager? Where do you see our vulnerabilities and our strengths?
Well, if England play, if they play as they can play, they will win. I'm quite sure, and they will go on to the quarterfinal. But Senegal is the best African team. They won the African Cup last year, I think it was. So it's a good team they're meeting, and a lot of good football players. A lot of them playing in Premier League, and most of them playing in Europe. So England has to play very well to win, but they will. I'm confident.
What do you make of what Gareth Southgate has done so far? Because there has been criticism that perhaps he wasn't putting some of the key players, I mean, people like Grealish on to start, people like Phil Foden on to start. Do you think he's going to have to change his tactics somewhat for this match?
I hope not. I hope he plays with his own head and not listening to a lot of people. You know, this job, that means you are criticized, whatever you do. And that's part of the job. But if you look at where he's criticized, if he play Rashford, they say, no, he should play Foden.
Oh, that line's gone. We'll see if we can get it up again.
I can.
So it's a
we go.
difficult job. But he is lucky as well, because up front he has a lot of options. Harry Kane will play, I suppose, if he's fit, and he should play, of course. But then who's playing around him? It can be Foden, it can be Sterling, Rashford, Saka, Grealish.
Oh, sadly, we're having trouble with that line, aren't we? It's such fun to talk to him, though. I mean, he's such a legendary name, really, in the history of English football, isn't he? We'll try and get back to Sven in a moment, as you can see that he's at home. By
Have
the
we got him? Have we got it? I feel like I'm waiting for penalties. Sven, sorry about that. The line dropped out a little bit, but we were getting the gist.
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
We are having technical problems, I'm afraid. Can
you hear us yet?
No.
No, I don't think so. Give up there. OK. Well, Sven, thank you.
Thank you
anyway,
so much. I wanted his prediction. What's your prediction? Goals?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to start making predictions. But he was quite confident. Sven-Göran Eriksson, quite confident that England will win this.
Yeah, but he always used to be.
I tell you what's interesting is that he doesn't look or sound any different.
No, he doesn't, does he?
No, not a thing.
It's the Swedish air for you.
But it's quite something, because he
Swedish bone structure, you know.
Oh,
I don't know. It is, isn't it?
Sven-Göran Eriksson. I mean, the man is a legend.
Oh, he is, absolutely.
No two ways about it.
I've spoken to him this morning.
So there you go. Anyway, we've got much more to come, including a festive fun run taking place in Liverpool this morning.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions. I have no time for cultural totalitarianism. We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week. "9:28, good morning. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. It's a shame that line went down to Sven-Göran Eriksson.
It was.
Because I think if you're at the younger end watching, maybe it's not quite as important to you. But if you're of an age,
he's sort of legendary.
It's just like
football manager.
It's remarkable.
Although we never won anything big under his reign,
no,
did we?
We did. But of course, he was managing the big names, wasn't he? Gary Neville, John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, Ashley Cole,
Wayne Rooney, Michael Owen, Beckham, Lampard, Paul Scholes. Well, that's why it was always rather disappointing, because they were huge stars, all of those. And yet we still never won anything.
No, but it's interesting. One of our guests was saying earlier on, there wasn't that sort of collegiate attitude in the team. And maybe quite a lot of egos, actually built in that.
Separate egos.
Well, it seems Gareth Southgate seems determined to not have that. And certainly people like Harry Kane seem remarkably...
Very chilled, very calm.
Yeah, but humble.
Yeah.
Almost. Now, I don't know what... And I think you could probably say the same about Rashford. He's quite a remarkable young man.
He is remarkable.
I don't know. I've never really seen somebody like Foden being interviewed and things, but, they've got to take the lead from the top, one would presume.
Yes. No, well, maybe it's the magic formula. You never know. I know, you never know.
Andy in Exeter, morning Andy, says, we love GB News and Stephen and Anne. Well, quite right too. But where's your Christmas tree?
I know.
Where
is it?
I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it should be up tomorrow.
I hope it's a nice one.
I think.
Do you think it's real?
There is a massive box of baubles in the
that's
newsroom.
An encouraging sign.
So we've got baubles. I haven't seen the tree yet, though, but I think it's going up... It's being delivered on Tuesday.
Well,
so
let's
there
hope.
You go.
So it should be up for us next weekend.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That would be lovely.
Lovely.
Good. So Paul in Cape Town says, we in South Africa have a national holiday from the 24th to the 26th. So Christmas is always the best. My family, like most here, take both the secular and religious side of the holiday really seriously. So it's big drinking on the 24th and prayer that everybody arrives safely, church and eating with family, and prayers to say thanks on the 25th and prayers to recover from food overdose and hoping we do it again next year.
Yeah, oh, that sounds
full on.
Nice.
A full-on Christmas.
Full on, but very nice. Alicia, morning Alicia, says, this year I'm lucky to have my husband who works offshore at home. Our Christmas starts on Christmas Eve when I get up at 3 in the morning and make sausage rolls. Blimey, and Mike,
that's devotion to
That is devotion. Mike says, I was usually working away in the Merchant Navy, but as I've just retired, finally have a Christmas at home, planning on a late lunch Christmas Day of smoked salmon, followed by roast venison and all the trimmings.
Smoked salmon is very Boxing Day for us in our family.
Oh, is it? We have another full roast on Boxing Day.
Another one?
Yeah.
Not just leftovers?
No, the full one. With sort of... I don't know, do we have duck? We certainly do duck on New Year's Day. But I don't know, I just have more lentil roast. Whatever. We were talking about road safety as well in the papers earlier on.
Because there's been this survey out of our driving habits, and leading up to Christmas, 1 in 8 drivers was found to have been right over the top drink-wise or even high.
I mean, you know, there should be zero tolerance and all this sort of thing. Roy says, has anybody else noticed the growing trend of people driving in the dark with no lights on?
It's terrifying. I
50
have noticed
have
a bit
you?
of that. Yeah, it is absolutely terrifying. You don't know whether people are doing it deliberately, whether they're too drunk to notice whether they've got their lights on or not, or whether something's wrong. But if you're driving in the dark and suddenly you see, you know, coming at you, a car that has not got its lights on, it is terrifying.
15-minute journey on Friday, says Roy, and I saw 4. Not the first time in recent months.
Was it dusk or something that some people, you know, hold back on putting their lights on?
I don't know.
Sue says, I'm coming home from New Zealand. So I think you must be getting in touch with us from New Zealand. I'm coming home from New Zealand to spend my first Christmas in the UK for over 40 years with 2 of my daughters and granddaughters. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle the weather, but I can't wait to spend Christmas with my family.
Oh.
Welcome.
Yes, that'll be lovely. In order of watching TV at Christmas, which my family does not do, but we seem to be in a minority. Barbara says, I always remember watching TV on Christmas morning. Our favourite was Leslie Crowther.
Leslie Crowther was Christmas.
I was giving
morning,
presents to children who were
in
spending
hospitals.
Christmas Day in hospital.
That's right.
Made us think how lucky we were. Yeah.
He was a Christmas institution, wasn't he? Absolutely.
Well, I don't remember. We never had it on.
Never ever saw. Leslie Crowther was always in a children's hospital.
But
often dressed up a bit, sort of Santa Claus-ish, and always giving out presents, and it was lovely.
I remember.
Noel Edmonds took over for him.
Yeah, I suppose he did. He did a lot of Christmas stuff, didn't he? But The Price is Right is what I remember Leslie for. Yeah. And then he died of cancer, didn't he?
What was the children's programme that made Crackerjack?
Was he on Crackerjack?
He was the first Crackerjack presenter.
Was he?
Yeah.
See, I remember Stu Francis.
Oh, no, that's young. You see, that shows how young you are.
Oh, yeah.
But the original Crackerjack had Leslie Crowther.
Stu.
He was Mr. BBC, wasn't he, really?
Stu Francis. Jim says the King's speech will be nice to look forward to.
It will, I think.
I absolutely agree. Oh, I tell you what. Where's that one about care homes? Because some of the stuff Matt Hancock's come out with is quite critical about care homes and what happened in the pandemic, right?
Well, there's this where Stephen in Buckinghamshire says, I spent decades visiting care homes, visiting patients. I absolutely believe that care generally declined overall, though there were some very good homes that bucked the trend. The mobility of low-paid staff, combined with worsening care standards in many homes, contributed to the number of COVID deaths.
And Debbie says, my son worked in a care home all through COVID, and I'm sad to say what Matt Hancock is saying is true. He would regularly come home and say the staff had to take turns in looking after COVID patients in their room for an hour at a time and then look after the rest of the residents. Needless to say, it spread like wildfire.
Yeah, Jane says the same thing. I agree with Matt Hancock that a lot of the care homes were not prepared sufficiently and it was brought into the homes by staff. I'm not a fan, but I still think he and the government did the best they could dealing with this pandemic. No one probably could have handled it any better. Let's hope we just learn from it.
Well, look, any views you have, if you want to join in the conversation, then please do. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
And what of Harry and Meghan? They're making very big headlines again today. Everybody's bracing themselves for the worst. But I tell you what, I wonder if you'd like to see this little video that Prince Harry made, and it was sort of released overnight. And he made it for children in one of his particular charities.
Scottish little soldiers.
And these are children who've lost a parent. I think they're usually always from military families, aren't they? And they're children who've lost a parent. And if you watch this video, this is the Prince Harry we miss, isn't it? Have a look at this.
Hey, Scotty little soldiers. Welcome to the Christmas party. I hope you guys got some rest before tonight's excitement. I hear from Sharky and George there are 5 villains that you guys need to stop from ruining Christmas. So, use your teamwork, your brains and your brawn to make sure that you do exactly that. Find them and don't let them ruin Christmas, okay? At the same time, Christmas is a time when we miss our loved ones really, really badly. And that's okay. But at the same time, it can be possible to feel guilty for having fun without our parents. But I'm here to assure you that our parents always want us to have fun, okay? So don't feel guilty. You're allowed to have the best time ever, especially with this Scotty Little Soldiers community. So go out there, have the best time, and Merry Christmas.
You see, that's lovely. That's lovely. That's a Harry
Makes
we want
us miss
back.
him, doesn't it?
Yeah. He can do a lot of good, can Prince Harry.
He doesn't have to bash his own family.
No. Anyway, let us know what you think. gbviews at gbnews.uk.
Right, do stay with us. There's lots more to come, including we're going to be meeting in a minute now the Tory party chairman, Nadeem Zahawi. And he hopefully will be telling us all about the government's plans to tackle the strikes.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prison.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us. We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere. Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Now, a 65-ton tank that last saw service during the Cold War is being renovated ahead of the King's coronation next year.
Yeah, a team of volunteers from the Royal Lancers and Nottinghamshire Yeomanry Museum at Thoresby are scraping years of rust from the Conqueror in an effort to save the machine for future generations. So we sent Will Hollis along for the ride.
As restorations go, they don't get much bigger than this.
This bin's particularly bad. As you can see, the whole thing's rotted away, so that's going to take a lot more work than the other one, which has only got patchwork on it.
At 65 tonnes, the Conqueror is quite the gate guardian at Thoresby. When the Military Museum in Nottinghamshire asked for volunteers to fix its new tank, it was an easy yes for Army veteran Gus.
I left in '93, and this is the first chance I've had to work on a tank again, and it's like coming home. It's really good. We're loving it because all the lads, they all know what they're doing, and they've all got specific jobs, and we just kind of help each other out to get the thing back up to scratch.
The Conqueror is covered in rust and has more than a few holes to fill, which is where restoration expert Dave, who runs a paint business, takes lead.
What we've got here are all the bazooka plates from the side of the tank, and they are basically blast shields to prevent them being bazookas going and blowing the tracks off. I'm taking these away today to be restored at our workshops in Retford.
Surrey, the first public demonstration of Britain's new armoured giant, the mighty Conqueror, the 65-ton tank that packs a punch to match its size.
The Conqueror is one of the biggest tanks ever used by the British Army. Only 180 or so were built. They were mainly used to defend West Germany during the Cold War. This one here, it's in desperate need of repair, and that's why it's been brought here to the Military Museum at Thoresby. The Lancers Museum honours the long service Nottinghamshire has given to the British Army, from the early days of light cavalry to the tank regiments that we see today. Bringing the Conqueror here helps to complete the museum, which opened in 2011. But the connection Thoresby Park has with tanks goes back much further.
We're not going to elevate that gun anytime soon, are we?
Former Lancer Captain Mick is the museum's curator.
Thoresby in World War II used to have a tank training area. And this is the first tank to be back at Thoresby Courtyard in over 80 years. So I think that is a really good advertisement for Thoresby.
Most of the men here served in the 17th and 21st Lancers, including Rob. This year, the regiment celebrates the centenary of its formation. Rob says projects like this help veterans stay connected to their history and each other.
When I was leaving school, I had a choice, either go down the pit in a factory or follow what my heart said, which was to be a soldier. We have a saying in the forces: you either come out of the forces as a civilian or you come out with half a green brain, which means that you've still got something there for the forces.
The museum hopes that visitors will help to meet the £10,000 cost of fixing the tank so it can be ready for King Charles's coronation in May next year. And after that, the small piece of history will become a big part of this museum's future. Will Hollis for GB News in Thoresby.
I think things like that are really important, actually,
I do too,
keeping that bit of Cold War history alive. And I love the fact that guy, I've forgotten his name now, who says it's like coming home, getting to work on a tank again.
Weird.
He probably hated it when he was working. It probably drove him mad.
Yeah.
When he's got a choice, it's a lovely thing to get back and do. Oh, good for him.
Looking forward to the strikes this winter. Yet again, the armed forces, this is from Craig, morning Craig, yet again the armed forces have to cover for striking firefighters. This puts more strain on our force personnel who have had to cover 2 previous strikes. Any ex-military who joined the fire service and then voted for strike action should hang their heads in shame.
Well, a bit harsh, isn't it?
It's a bit rough, I suppose, if members of the military get called back from holiday.
Yeah, Christmas leave and things.
Yeah.
But, that's what you sign up for.
Yes, Dave in Wirral says, with the military preparing to assist during the forthcoming strikes involving the NHS, the ambulance service, border force and any other workers who jump on the bandwagon, will the military be getting an inflation-busting pay rise? Somehow doubt.
No, that isn't going to happen. Christmas, we've been talking a lot about people. Well, a lot of people have been in touch saying, well, I'm on my own, so I don't mark it, I don't celebrate it, I'm not happy with it, sort of thing. Roy, I think, was one who said he really doesn't like it anymore. But Liz has got I think it's just a nicer approach in a way. She says, not everyone needs to be surrounded by people at Christmas. I actually love and choose to spend Christmas Day by myself, not lonely, just alone.
Yes, no, I totally get that point of view. It's wrong that we constantly peddle the myth that everybody wants to be surrounded by people all the time. Some people are very, very happy and content on their own, just pottering on their own.
Yeah.
Make it a great pottering day.
So if that works for you, all well and good.
Julia says we're going away for the first time this year with our friends and our dogs.
Ooh.
We're staying in a lodge in Snowdonia, and I can't wait. No cooking, no stress, just lots of fresh air and long walks. You've got to do some cooking there, haven't you?
I think
You've
so.
got to eat, haven't you?
Live off a sandwich.
Maybe not make a big deal of it.
Yeah, maybe not. Look, unfortunately, we've not been able to get hold of Nadeem Zahawi. Yes.
Which is a pity, because there's a lot to put to him.
There is, Conservative Party chairman. He was the vaccines minister, of course, during all the pandemic. So hopefully, if we can't wangle it for this show, hopefully maybe we'll get it on Michael's show next. But in the meantime, should we get our green fingers out?
Yes, because I don't know about you, I've said it before, I'm a fair weather gardener. I don't like this weather at all, even though the gardening desperately needs doing. Stuff needs doing during these
Bit of a tidy
chill
up.
weeks. Yeah, always a tidy up.
Well, we're asking what the cold season means for your garden, especially if you have got a little bit of green fingers. So, garden designer Anthony Henn is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's
Hello.
lovely to see you, and you've come in with a load of lovely stuff as well.
Yeah.
All gorgeous stuff. First and foremost, the gardening doesn't stop at this time of the year, does it? And we can still watch things grow and come through. So what do we need to be focusing on?
Well, my garden, as an example, is pretty natural and kind of wildish, and I kind of don't mind that. Even though it's embarrassing, as a garden designer, I don't want my clients to come to my garden because I like it a bit natural. So in other words, the gardens we do and maintain, obviously most people want them neat and tidy. I don't like it too tidy.
Not even at this time of year. You don't want bare earth round them.
No, and also the perennials, the things that flower in the summer and do their thing, this time of year they die down. But actually, for me, the framework of the dead flowers and the foliage is really nice, especially when it gets frosty and cold. And what it also does is protects the plants from the frost. So if you chop everything back and make it all neat and tidy...
You're exposing it to the elements.
Exactly, you're going to see the earth is exposed. You know, and I like, personally, certainly if anybody's got a neat garden, I'd suggest you have an area that you leave quite natural. Because you don't have to do a lot in the garden. I mean, I do it because I love doing it. I need to do my garden fairly soon because it's now getting a little bit too wild. But for nature and wildlife, the best way is just to enjoy it. Don't get too stressed about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, you've brought something that's a bulb.
I have.
Bulb of hyacinths, yeah.
I have.
Should we be thinking of bulbs at this time of year?
Well, there's so much to do. I grabbed a few things from our nursery. And it just shows you, I mean, at this time of year, again, everybody thinks everything's dead and dying. We do evergreen gardens as well for people, where there isn't flowers as such, flowers from the shrubs, but there's so many nice things you can use.
Lovely. What's that one?
That is a euphorbia.
Oh, it's gorgeous already.
I mean, this is like, you know, this is middle of the, well, not quite middle of the winter.
Hold it up just a little bit more so that
where are we? There we are.
Yeah, I don't know what angle we're on.
There are so many.
Anthony, if you point it towards that little
beautiful
camera over there.
Look at that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Those are wonderful colours.
That is a cross between a myrtle and a Lothothamnus. It's a kind of pittosporum type thing. There are so many nice plants. If you want an evergreen garden, in the winter, you've got winter heathers, which are amazing, obviously. Great for bees and butterflies.
How do you keep a heather under control? I've had a lot of heathers in the past, and they reach a point where they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then just seem to die.
Yes, that's because when the winter flowering heather finishes flowering in March, April time, people just leave them a bit like a lavender. They get huge, bigger and bigger, and you've got to kind of maintain things. So when a winter heather's finished flowering, before they start growing, you trim them right back. They regrow.
Right.
Same with the lavender. When you trim the lavender back, it regrows again, and trim it back in the early spring. So you've got to manage things.
Yeah.
But
as you get, lavender's lovely, but it gets very woody, doesn't it?
Well, again, because it's not pruned every year. If you leave it,
That's how you stop it going too woody.
Yeah, lavender's.
Never done that.
If you've got a really old lavender, people seem to hang on to things too long as well. Because a small lavender for £5 in 1 year is a beautiful big. You know, it's a lovely, fairly mature. They grow pretty quickly. Yeah. So my advice is don't, you know, and this is sentimental value. If something's looking old and had it,
get rid of it.
Whip it out, put another one in. They're not expensive. I mean, you know, I always compare things with pizzas. You know, that is cheaper than pizza.
Yeah.
I mean, really, come on.
Yeah.
It's
I
ridiculous.
tell you what, I love seeing these because I mean, hyacinth. My grandma, we always had the hyacinth glasses.
Yes.
And all that with the water, always for Christmas.
It's a great gift.
And
isn't it?
the smell of a hyacinth is
Absolutely.
unbelievable.
So true.
That won't be doing much yet.
No, and if people are worrying about, you know, Christmas presents, I mean, we're always struggling to buy things. But again, obviously, I'm in the plant industry, so I may obviously say that. But surely, you know, that for 12, 15 pounds, or the, you know,
Because that's going to grow. I mean, that's going to get big.
That's quite. If you trim it, it doesn't have to get too big. But it's such good value. Little Helleborus. I mean, that is just the kind of expectation of spring. You can just see that, even though it's not ready yet. For me, I love it before things really get going.
And what are the lovely, colourful red and white?
Yeah, we've got cyclamen, which...
Oh, that's cyclamen, of course it is.
Yeah, the cyclamen. This is a fairly hardy-ish variety, so you can put them outside. You see them all over London in window boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
If they get -5, they may die, but again, it's the price of a coffee.
Will they come back? I don't know. Are they
these ones,
or are they just
not
annuals?
necessarily. This particular one is a fairly short-term plant.
Right.
So again, I
love a cyclamen.
You can have that one.
So
It's
pretty.
yours.
Oh, thank you.
Take it
Thank
home
you
with
very much.
That's yours, Anne, that one.
Thank you.
But my point is that plants are such good value compared to most other things, you know.
I always say to people as well, when people say, "Oh, thank you for doing so and so and so. What are your favourite flowers?" I say, I don't want cut flowers.
Exactly.
I just love a plant.
Exactly.
Because that's got a future, hasn't it?
I know. And that's
Whereas cut flowers, I know there's a place for cut flowers, but cut flowers die in the end.
They do.
Whereas
They
that
have their
living a
place.
long time.
There's some, and especially because everything's so grim at the moment, right? I just think there's something quite comforting about doing some work in the garden, because it forces you to look forward.
Exactly.
Doesn't it? Forces you to look forward to the spring or the summer.
And it's not far away. I mean, if you think about 6 weeks, it's January, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not far away. And I mean, I love... Christmas is fine, but for me, New Year, everything is starting to grow again. You see the new buds. You've only got a month till March, you know.
I know, it's so lovely seeing the first flowers come
It's
through.
just brilliant. I love every season. I mean, even this time, the autumn colours this year have been fantastic. You know, and I see people with headphones on walking around. They're walking past a beautiful red Acer and they're not even looking at it. I'm thinking, what are you... Open your eyes, you know.
Yeah.
This time of year, the autumn colours have been fantastic. And I've been doing it a long time. And even this year, I'm thinking, wow, I've never noticed that Acer or that liquid amber. You've got to appreciate every season.
Yeah, right, I like it. I've got 3 liquid ambers in the garden.
You know what you're talking about.
I absolutely love them. Anthony, it's been really good to see you this morning. Thank you very much
Enjoy
indeed.
the cyclamen.
I will do.
That's your one.
Thank you. It's lovely.
Perfect.
Enjoy that. In fact, have the hyacinths as well.
Perfect. You see, guests with gifts. That's why we have them on. That's it from us. Breakfast is back tomorrow morning at 6. I'm going to be in, actually, and...
I should be at home looking at my cyclamen.
Up next, here's Michael Portillo's got Sunday. But looking ahead to today's weather in the UK is going to be fairly grey for many, chilly in a brisk easterly breeze. These are the details then.
Areas in the far